Where did he go? The one-eyed green dragon monk asked. At that moment, a thought struck him, and his heart raced. The waiter pointed in a direction, but unfortunately, with so many people coming and going in Wangchun City, it was hard to find anyone. Just then, the one-eyed green dragon monk spotted someone. The person was very tall, not because he was a giant, but because he was mounted on some steed. He only saw a back figure, yet it still felt familiar. At this point, that back figure turned around and cupped his hands towards him. The one-eyed green dragon monk almost knelt on the ground. It really is my big brother. The one-eyed green dragon monk always respected strength, and when Duan Yun killed the elders of the Red House, he had witnessed the opponent's methods firsthand. But back then, he considered the opponent impressive, yet too young, and not ultimately a match for his master. However, in Lishan City, he and his master saw Duan Yun fall into devilry. Though his master repeatedly claimed it wasn't fear, just not the right time to subdue demons and chose to leave, he knew his master was afraid. From childhood, his master was his idol, but from that moment, his idol crumbled. He found a new idol, Duan Yun. After that, he no longer idolized his master and began to acknowledge Duan Yun as his big brother. Later, everywhere in the martial world, stories about his big brother spread, making him admire Duan Yun even more. Several times his master tried to regain prestige in his heart. He outwardly praised him, but inside, he felt his master was a piece of crap. Old dung. Looking at that cupping hands back figure in the sunlight, he didn't know if the person was smiling, but the one-eyed green dragon monk was already amazed. He knew that his big brother sent pastries instead of meeting in person because he wanted to keep a low profile. But he still cared about me. These pastries. Waiter, wrap these pastries for me. He had already decided to enshrine these pastries, lighting incense daily. These are pastries from Big Brother. Seeing the pastries is like seeing Big Brother. Qingzhou, Qinghe City. When Duan Yun returned here again, he felt the city's atmosphere seemed a bit strange. Yet when he looked around, he couldn't tell what was peculiar about the atmosphere. The air was filled with an indescribable aroma. Yet Duan Yun felt lighthearted. After traveling for so many days, he was finally returning. Though it wasn't the Yuzhu Manor, wherever the group of heroes was the Yuzhu Manor. When he left, he had entrusted this place to the Murong brothers for renovation, unsure of how the changes turned out. As Duan Yun and Little Een reached the entrance of the house, Little Een instinctively stepped back, her hair standing on end. At this moment, something big suddenly charged at the entrance. That big thing was initially running on all fours but suddenly stood up like a human. At that moment, the big thing hugged old demon Duan. Only then did Little Een see clearly that it was a bear. She hadn't been out for long, had seen black bears, but this black and white bear was a first. Duan Yun patted Big White on the back, saying, "You've got a keen nose." And so, the two of them, along with the bear, went inside. Inside, the Murong brothers were sharpening their blades. On seeing Duan Yun, they paused for a moment, and immediately their grinding stone flew off as they saw Little Een. Their gaze swiftly passed over Duan Yun, and they looked at Little Een nervously. "Who is this beautiful lady?" "Little Een, my newly acquired steed." "So it's Een, wait, what steed?" the Murong brothers exclaimed. Little Een noticed the Murong brothers' bewildered look and replied, "Yes, I'm Little Een, his steed." In that instant, the Murong brothers felt the sky was collapsing a bit. Using such a beautiful girl as a steed, old demon Duan. This is either too cruel or you're playing too wild. It made Ning Qing alone seem so inadequate, even slightly self-loathing. After all, I am a young hero Murong just like you. But he quickly snapped out of it. True love is the true essence of a young hero, while old demon Duan is just promiscuous. At this time, Feng Linger, Ning Qing, and Ziyu also arrived. Seeing Duan Yun, Feng Linger directly went in for a flying shoulder tackle. Then she hugged Duan Yun, looked towards Little Een, and asked, "Who is she?" Little Een introduced herself. Little Een, his newly acquired steed. Feng Linger blinked her beautiful big eyes, puzzled. "Are you proud to be a mount?" Little Een replied, It's okay. Logically speaking, Feng Linger's behavior of crashing into people with a ball would usually be stopped, so Duan Yun couldn't help but ask, "Where's Shadow Ing?" Feng Linger waved her hand and said to the Murong brothers, "Dig it up." The Murong brothers couldn't go against their beautiful little sister, so they had to do it themselves. He took the blood shadow mad blade and tinkered under the tree in the yard, soon revealing a pitch-black coffin inside. The Murong brothers pointed and said, "Just lying there for a month." Duan Yun was momentarily speechless. Little Een joined in the fun and said, "Your friend died? Why do you seem not a bit sad?" Duan Yun explained, "She's not dead. She's just training." "Training in a coffin?" Little Een said in surprise. For a moment, she felt that there were probably not many normal people in this house. Indeed, anyone mixed up with old Demon Duan cannot be real decent people. At this time, it was time to release some points. Today, Ziyu made the meal, and once it was done, it was time to eat. This was the day young hero Duan rejoined the Jade Pearl heroes. Everyone was naturally very happy, chatting incessantly. It must be said, Ziyu's culinary skills are good. Seeing the dishes brought to the table, one by one, made little Een almost drool. The Murong brothers quickly greeted the new beauty to join them, but Duan Yun waved and said, "Sit at Big White's table." At this time, Big White and Little Gray were dining at a small table. The table was small, and the chairs were low, looking particularly comical. "I sit with them?" Little Een said in surprise. "Of course, both are mounts," Duan Yun said. "Oh." Little Een walked over begrudgingly. There wasn't even a chair, only squatting there. This made the Murong brothers feel a pang of sympathy. He originally wanted to stop old Demon Duan's shameless act, but with Ning Qing nearby, he didn't dare to say more because of his pure love. Little Een squatted there, facing Big White and Little Gray. She was so angry her teeth itched, wanting to make a vow by fasting. But when Ziyu brought the dishes, Little Een immediately began to eat ravenously. Today's meal was stir-fried bamboo shoots with meat. The bamboo shoots were dug out when Big White went to prepare bamboo. It's really fragrant. At this time, Duan Yun asked about their progress on the transformation. He'd been away for quite a while, but the Murong brothers and Feng Linger exchanged glances and said nothing. Eventually, Feng Linger sulkily said, "You say it yourself." Duan Yun saw the Murong brothers stuttering for a long time without saying anything substantial, and couldn't help but say, "You wouldn't be slacking off, would you?" "Not at all. I've been diligent," the Murong brothers explained. This explanation made Duan Yun's head ache. "After you left, we Jade Pearl heroes took over. As someone with a name as renowned as yours, young hero Murong, I'm naturally the main force. But you know, those practicing martial arts in the city won't listen to reason. So I had to use my supreme blade technique to subdue them. And then, some folks in Qinghe City were still difficult. I had no choice but to educate them with endless resentment blade. Then they all shouted about letting their wives sell themselves. I thought after this battle, no one would dare to face me." At this point, the Murong brothers lowered their proud heads, their voices growing smaller. Feng Linger bluntly said, "This guy turned green-eyed at the time, making the city have people cheating and selling themselves. Then they sold each other. Later, when people weren't convinced, this guy chopped some more. Then they let their wives sell again. This got famous, scared off some people, but attracted a large crowd instead." Duan Yun said in surprise, "Attracted a large crowd?" Those people all like letting their wives mess around. Hearing this was in vogue here, they all came at once, so back and forth, everyone in the city was messing with each other. They have small gatherings every 3 days and big ones every 5 days, even forming a formation with more people joining. We had trouble dealing with it. So the fame of Qinghe City spread, and it's got a new name. What name? Green Jade City. You could say most people in this city are messing around now. Hearing this, Duan Yun couldn't help but take a cold breath. Such development was truly wicked. Wicked beyond all his expectations. At this time, the Murong brothers interjected. "Those damned folks. Some even came over asking me to give them a couple of cuts, to add some excitement for their wives to sell themselves. It's too shameless." Duan Yun had an old complaint stuck in his mouth, not knowing how to speak. He suddenly felt that the Murong brothers were really geniuses. Geniuses he couldn't compare to in some areas. Did you reform the sect and Qinghe City like this? Changed the name entirely? Yes. Previously Qinghe City was famous for martial god treasure vault and debauchery. Now only one word remains: green. Qinghe City Joyful Union Sect Brothel. With the departure of the serious martial world folks who were killing, glancing, absorbing, and gambling, only the green and vibrant elite came around, and the business of Joyful Union Sect wasn't doing well. Indeed, these green elite all brought their own wives and played among themselves, completely self-sufficient, so it's no wonder Joyful Union Sect's business wasn't thriving. Thus, the brothel of Joyful Union Sect that aspired to be a century-old establishment collapsed and has now been sold to others. Although the Joyful Union Sect fell, this building was still lively. Men and women mingled together, some clothed, others not. A young man, holding a woman, shouted, "Old Zhang, your wife is really something." On the other side, a big beard responded, "This Mrs. Wang is a gem too." "Oh, stop it." At this time, the young man shouted again, "And what about my wife?" "Sister-in-law went upstairs. It's crowded up there," someone answered. At this moment, the young man's expression became complicated, mixed with an indescribable excitement. That big beard couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Mr. Li's realm is beyond us. We should set up a new sect here with so many of us gathered together. Let's see which pure love bastard dares to pick a fight with us." "Yes, yes. We lovers of green must stand up fiercely. Brother, it's one thing to make a fuss, but stepping on someone else's wife's body is unacceptable. If you break her, no one will let you play." Sorry. Got too excited, sister-in-law. Don't blame me." In the martial world, there are often fights. These fights concern territory and resources, and more so ideologies. For example, those who love to share their wives don't get along with people who claim to be pure love Taoist couples. And they often come to blows. Since they are not mainstream, they've always been suppressed by pure love bastards, some even killed on the way of sharing their wives. But after coming to Qinghe City, their experts in the art of green love rallied together from all over, and it became their base. Any pure love couple stepping in would have to bear the consequences. A bunch of like-minded people together, playing daily, became quite familiar with each other, giving them a sense of security. Then suddenly, there was a commotion upstairs. "Mrs. Li, we love you. Mrs. Li, we love you." At that moment, a gentle woman's voice responded, "I love you too. Then where's your husband? Aren't all of you my husbands?" Hearing this voice, the young Mr. Li's expression became even more complex and pained, yet excited. For it was the voice of his most beloved wife. Suddenly, Mr. Li stood up, causing Mrs. Zhang sitting on him to fall to the ground. Mrs. Zhang was about to complain, but then she saw this Mr. Li's eyes suddenly emit a green glow. As this green light surged, his complexion began to turn green. I have realized," the young Mr. Li suddenly shouted. His green aura rushed toward the top of his head, and for a moment, his true chi soared. The surging true chi made his head appear blurry, and even his true chi was green. The green true chi kept transforming, like his wife changing countless positions, finally turning into a green saber. "Dharma image?" the people exclaimed in shock. As Mr. Li continued his breathing, the green saber Dharma image kept transforming, sometimes hard, sometimes soft, sometimes dull, sometimes sharp, just like Mr. Li's complicated expression. As Mr. Li continued listening to his wife's voice, he clasped his hands, and with the transformation, the Dharma image took shape. It was a little green figure with a green saber atop its head. Man green, saber greener, the green Dharma image reflected a green hue all around. "I've done it! My power has increased greatly," he shouted, and the thickness of his true chi rapidly climbed. This change certainly left the surrounding people both shocked and delighted. They let their wives play. It was a hobby, But who would have thought this hobby could cultivate into a divine skill? That little figure of the Dharma image had simple lines, somewhat like a child's drawing. Yet despite its simplicity, it was quite vivid, its green eyes bright and lively. At this time, someone came to and exclaimed, "Green Blade Demon!" The crowd suddenly stared. They also remembered, this Mr. Lee had been struck by the Green Blade Demon's saber, which is why he played so enthusiastically. Before he and his wife just dabbled, but after taking a hit from the Green Blade Demon, he suddenly opened up, becoming a leading figure among fellow enthusiasts. This little green saber-figured Dharma image seemed to possess a magical power that attracted this group of green love enthusiasts, especially those who had been struck by the Green Blade Demon's saber before. They couldn't help but draw closer. "Ah! Ah! Ah!" Several screams echoed, as if the Dharma image could infect people. Several fellows had their true chi surge to the top, and the green true chi flowed, condensing into new Dharma images. Soon, green glows flickered all over the entire floor. "Ha ha ha ha! Wife, I've made it! I've made it!" The brothel instantly filled with ecstatic voices. As various sizes of green Dharma images emerged, this brothel suddenly became greener. Several guys who suddenly realized their Dharma images rushed out, dancing with others' wives. Duan Yun and the Murong brothers had just arrived not long ago. The Murong brothers intended for Duan Yun to inspect and give advice on their heroic spirit work, to see if improvements could be made. But as soon as they arrived, they saw this chaotic scene of dancing demons. These guys were singing and dancing wildly, with their Dharma images flashing like green disco lights. Duan Yun almost thought he had traveled back in time, encountering ghostly boys partying on motorbikes. "Practiced it. We've practiced it. Green Saber is great. Green Saber is awesome. My wife is sleeping with someone else. The greener the better. The stronger we are. We're the strongest. We're the strongest." Seeing these people go crazy, even the instigators, the Murong brothers, were shocked. His original intent for Duan Yun coming was to see if he could correct his heroic spirit transformation, but now it's gotten this serious. It seems there's no need to rescue them. At this moment, Feng Linger, Ningqing, Ziyu, and their mount Little Een also came to watch the commotion. Seeing the little green men with green saber Dharma images, they clicked their tongues in wonder. It wasn't long before the one who first practiced the Dharma image, Mr. Lee, came out, causing everyone to look at him. It was clear that these people were about to regard him as their leader. Mr. Lee waved his hand and said, "We green lovers know why we're able to practice such Dharma images. It's all thanks to old Green Saber, Hero Green Saber. This Dharma image also contains his inner essence. From now on, why should we regard Hero Green Saber as the leader and form the Green Alliance? Then we won't fear the Pure Love Alliance." Mr. Lee's speech truly inspired people, receiving the support of this group of green lovers in the martial world. It was evident they came together because of their shared hobby and, due to their hobby, unexpectedly gained dharmic prowess. This is the purest alliance, the purest force. From now on, we shall call Hero Green Saber Green Venerable, and we'll call ourselves the Green Alliance. This city will be our base. My wife is everyone's wife, Mr. Lee exclaimed with a wave of his arms. Green Venerable, only I am supreme. Green Alliance, Green Love turning to Alliance. Green Venerable, only I am supreme. As their chant resonated throughout Qinghe City, more and more fellow practitioners began forming their green Dharma images. These Dharma images all took the form of little men with green sabers atop their heads, each with unique postures, but without exception. Duan Yun and Feng Linger both looked towards the Murong brothers, as the Dharma image was quite reminiscent of them. Little Een, having been here for less than 2 days, was already too stunned to speak. Old Demon Duan's friends really are ultimate perverse evil demons. What kind of demon blade creates such a spectacle? With more and more green Dharma images, the entire pavilion was cast in neon green light, and those under it looked like a scene from a horror movie. Duan Yun, witnessing this, couldn't help but quip, Don't you have the technique, a night listening to spring rain? The Murong brothers replied, yes, but if they were to fall for a night listening to spring rain, they'd probably kill themselves. You said it yourself, more transformation, less killing. Duan Yun was shocked. So you're blaming me? The Murong brothers asked. What should we do now? Duan Yun thought aloud. I didn't ask about the sword technique to have them kill themselves. What then? The Murong brothers asked curiously. If you keep using a night listening to spring rain for cutting people, would it form a pure love faction? Duan Yun analyzed. Feng Linger immediately realized and said, don't let the two forces end up killing each other, resulting in it being all you're doing. Little Een couldn't help saying, what kind of demonic behavior is this? All along, Little Een looked down a bit on the Murong brothers, who were a bit slavish and less handsome than old demon Duan. But just in this one day, she felt a bit afraid of this fellow. Surely it is with old demon Duan at the helm of the demon cave that a regular person would come in and leave changed beyond recognition. Suddenly, Little Een became worried about her sisters. If it were only old demon Duan, her sisters might have a chance when teaming up. But facing this group of demons and witches, there's no hope. Sisters, do not come just yet. At this moment, the second and third sisters had already arrived at the Qingzhou territory. The two sisters sneezed a few times together. The third sister suddenly realized, second sister, could it be that our elder sister is thinking of us, urging us to hurry? The second sister blinked her beautiful eyes and said, quite possible. Then we must hurry up. Yes, hurry up. The Green Alliance is formed. Brothers, keep playing. Party until the sky turns dark. The world changes colors. For a moment, the men and women in the pavilion burst out with cheers of revelry, continuing their fun. They gathered for this purpose. The Green Alliance was only to make their fun more stable. At this moment, the Murong brothers stood there with complex emotions and somewhat wanting to cry. Why could he achieve something nearly like old demon Duan, form a force yet feel complex and not happy? Mainly because the Green Alliance was too perverted. So perverted it affects his reputation as Green Saber Young Hero. Old demon Duan's creations, such as Great Hero Sect and Jade Sword Sect, were essentially just fighting and killing, quite innocuous. Even the most perverse Iron Blood Sect merely liked force-feeding blood. Already, several Iron Blood Sect disciples were eyeing this green building. Among them, an Iron Blood man looked at the building, his blood boiling at once. He said, brothers, this scene has my blood boiling. Senior brother, what's boiling? Look at them, engaging in such debauchery. It's only a matter of time before they get sick, and when they do, I'll force-feed them blood. But, senior brother, my period just ended yesterday. What are you afraid of? According to this practice, it can be forced out early. The Iron Blood man tossed out a booklet and said. The Murong was already feeling uneasy, but at this moment, when he turned his head, he saw Duan Yun discussing something with Linger, Ziyu, and his Ning Qing. They were at least 10 steps away from him, clearly trying to avoid him. What are you doing? Murong asked indignantly. Ning Qing walked over and said, they want to discuss something with you. Murong asked, what is it? They feel this matter might affect the Jade Pearl Hero's reputation, so they want to temporarily remove you. What? Murong jumped up. In front of Ning Qing, he always spoke softly, and this was probably one of the few times he raised his voice. Linger added, it's a temporary removal. No way. Without me, the Jade Pearl Heroes would be incomplete. Murong refused. Linger said, to decide on Murong's temporary departure from the group of heroes, raise your hand to vote in agreement. As soon as the words fell, Linger, Ziyu, and Duan Yun all raised their hands. Even Ning Qing quietly raised his hand. Seeing Murong about to cry, he quietly put his hand down again. Linger didn't expect Murong to value his reputation so much and said, at least you need to solve this issue. Murong drew his sword and said, no problem. I'll go kill them right now. Saying this, he leaped several times towards the brothel. Murong, holding the sword, felt his thoughts purify. his whole being cleansed like the spring rain outside a small building, his mind as clear as crystal. Inside the brothel, the passionate Jianghu people were still indulging themselves, looking quite lively. He would use his pure love blade to make this group disappear. It's all because of you. Murong was about to push open the window when suddenly a voice sounded. Mr. Li, we believe in the Green Venerable. The Green Venerable is a hero. Should we follow his ideals too? Of course. We gathered because of our hobbies, and as we grew stronger with the Green Venerable, we should take the Green Venerable as our model. Once we've had enough fun, we should also do good deeds. Hearing this, Murong's hand holding the sword trembled. Duan Yun also heard it, held down his sword and said, if they just mess around internally without involving others, it's actually all right. Compared to ordinary Jianghu people who immediately commit crimes, this group of people plays together, and after having their fill, can still do some good deeds. They're actually quite normal in this martial world. And when people with such hobbies gather, they form a demon-locking tower, creating trouble for each other, thus avoiding more problems. Murong waved his hand and said, no, my heroic name cannot be tarnished by them. During this conversation, Murong had already drawn his sword. With a swoosh, the blood shadow mad blade swept across, opening the building's doors, windows, and roof, revealing Murong's figure. This sword chi was overwhelming, and the people who were having fun were instantly stunned. However, Mr. Li quickly reacted and shouted, Green Venerable! It's the Green Venerable! Welcome Green Venerable's arrival! At once, everyone present cheered. The Green Alliance had just been established, and the Green Venerable had already arrived to guide them. The situation was promising. Shut up! Murong said fiercely. This scared several people so much that their pants fell off. Murong, holding the sword, looked down at these half-naked men and women and scolded. I don't care how you mess around, but as young hero Murong, I'm telling you, you must not commit atrocities. And even if you do good deeds, you can't use my name. I have nothing to do with you. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless with my blade. After saying this, he left. Mr. Li and the others watched Murong's departing figure, and with a thud, they knelt on the ground, crying, and the Dharma image above their heads began to wobble. Is the Green Venerable not one of us? Indeed. I've only heard of Murong and his sister's affairs, but never heard of him fooling around. How can one enjoy life without sharing their love? The Dharma image is, in fact, a reflection of one's inner thoughts. When Mr. Li and the others conjured their Dharma image, the first thing on their minds was Murong. Now, with Murong wanting to sever ties with them, this thought suddenly wavered and became blurred. However, quickly, Mr. Li's Dharma image once again became steadfast and stable. He doesn't want to be associated with us, so we'll be our own Green Venerable. Yes, be our own Green Venerable. Green Venerable. Green Venerable. 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 For a moment, the crowd's Dharma image transformed. No longer was it a little green figure wielding a green saber, but a green venerable character wielding a saber. Be your own Green Venerable. Seeing this, Duan Yun couldn't help but comment. These green hat slaves are putting on a hot-blooded act. This green yet passionate feeling is like seeing a hot-blooded anime mixed with green, driving one to madness. It's best if this group stays locked in here. Locked indeed. On the other side, Murong unexpectedly broke down crying in front of Ning Qing. Was I too cruel? It's my first time becoming a venerable, and just like that, it's gone. Duan Yun has been away for several months, and Qinghe City has already become a completely different place. From the beginning, with all the gatherings of the martial world, filled with poison, gambling, and lechery, with adultery and murder, everyone had dreams of the martial god treasure vault. Now it is a gathering place for the Green Alliance people, forming Green Jade City, all in just a few months. One can only say, this place was first messed around by Old Demon Duan, and later chaotically handled by Green Blade Demon, having long lost its original essence. There are still people here who yearn for the martial god treasure vault, holding on to this dream, But as the fame of Green Jade City grows louder, the number of Green Alliance people coming from all corners is increasing, and the mainstream atmosphere here has already changed. The Green Alliance has already become the largest force here, and it will continue to grow. The old sects are crippled and injured. Even the most unyielding vices like gambling, drugs, and prostitution are failing. Duan Yun and his group thought about that group of green folks, and the pervasive smell in the air, and felt this place wasn't very clean. They had planned to leave. At night, under the oil lamp, around the square table, everyone gathered in a circle, and Duan Yun began to summarize this heroic change. Feng Linger crossed her legs, propped her chin with her hand, and looked at Duan Yun with full concentration. It could only be said that without Xin Ying in the coffin suppressing her, she was becoming more unrestrained. Little Yin felt quite lost sitting at the table with the brutes. Duan Yun's summary was very brief and straightforward, stating that everything developed in an orderly manner from the start, but the responsibility for the ensuing chaos lay entirely with the Murong brothers and Feng Linger. Feng Linger, surprised, said, "Me? You knew the scoundrel's sword technique but didn't properly stop it." Upon hearing this, Feng Linger wished to stab the Murong brothers twice in the ribs. The Murong brothers, originally still in sadness, had to admit their mistakes. And indeed, this was the case. Old Demon Duan merely destroyed a few sects, reformed an Iron Blood sect-type group, and according to the martial world, ruining many people's dreams. But he did not expect this group of green goblins to flock greedily, forming such a scale so quickly. Now that this place has become a demon-locking tower, the Murong brothers couldn't help but ask, "Where do we go now?" Duan Yun pondered. This time, while handling my affairs, I gradually discovered a secret about the martial world. As soon as they heard old Demon Duan was going to talk about a martial world secret, everyone perked up in interest. It must be known that for old Demon Duan, who had caused so much trouble, anything he deemed a secret must be extraordinary. All along this journey, I've discovered many places in the martial world carry their own characteristics and imprints, which are all related to the local martial forces. For example, the Red House's territory is about vice, the Mo Sect's territory is about money, Wuya City is about leafless trees, and Lingshui City, because of its three intertwined forces, involves killing, eating melons, and foot-licking. Duan Yun said while recalling. After a while, the Murong brothers blinked, puzzled. "That's it. That's it," Duan Yun replied. As soon as he said this, Feng Linger sat down on the ground, bewildered. "Is this the big secret you discovered? Isn't this common knowledge? Every place has its own customs and rules. Even for Feng Linger and the old martial world hands like the Murong brothers, Little Yin, a greenhorn, also knows this kind of thing. For example, the characteristic of Yellow Jade Island is the beautiful living dead manipulated by their mothers." Duan Yun, amazed, said, "So you all knew?" Then he continued, "This time, I went back to my hometown. Because I had killed everyone from the Xuanxiong gang and the county magistrate, no one dared to collect protection fees. In my honor, no martial world individuals dared to cause trouble there. And the neighbors live quite well. They call it the land of young heroes. It was only then I realized. This was my young hero's imprint on the martial world." At this point, Duan Yun suddenly stood on the table and said, "I like this kind of imprint. Although the land of young heroes is not perfect, where people live peacefully yet lack chivalry, if a place where the commoners can live peacefully while having many chivalrous martial world people, it is very beautiful." Upon hearing Duan Yun's description, Feng Linger looked up at Duan Yun's crotch on the table and pondered, "The young hero's imprint. Why do I feel it's somewhat like Yushu Town?" Yes, Yuzhu Manor's nearby Yushu Town was also once filled with vice and murder before becoming peaceful. Linger, you're right. This is the imprint we left together there. Our heroic imprint. Duan Yun replied. Hearing Duan Yun call her Linger, Feng Linger's heart softened, and she said, "Though I still don't quite understand what you mean, everything you say is right." The Murong brothers were noticeably cooler-headed, saying while looking up at Duan Yun's crotch on the table, "While the feeling of a hero town is nice, it still defies common sense. Your hometown and Yushu Town aren't large, and there aren't many martial world folks. But once the martial world folks gain some strength, If they don't engage in vice and murder, what will they do? In this martial world, once martial artists reach a certain skill level, surpassing ordinary people, they usually engage in vice and murder. As the old saying in the martial world goes, if I don't engage in vice and murder, wouldn't my martial arts be practiced in vain? Duan Yun's eyes gleamed. Of course, it's for construction. The Murong brothers and group were quite puzzled. Duan Yun said, even an ordinary martial artist has more strength than a common person. Farming, building houses, engaging in construction, all are stronger than the average person. The public toilets in my hometown city were cleared by Xuanxiong gang members using their bare paws, that is, using martial arts on the right path. Upon hearing this explanation, the Murong brothers and Feng Linger felt a surreal sense of illusion. The Murong brothers said, once you have mastered martial arts and no longer commit murder, continuing to be a wild beast is perhaps even more unpleasant than killing people. Duan Yun said, in our territory, in the places marked by us, martial artists should not commit murder indiscriminately. We don't force them, but we should guide them to do the right thing. I remember during the flood in Yu State, the people from the Bodhi Temple were very effective in flood control and disaster relief. Indeed, this world is still an ancient one. Apart from the murder by martial artists, natural and man-made disasters are unavoidable. And if a martial artist is a knight, not only can they prevent murder, but they can also increase productivity and make money. In the face of natural and man-made disasters, martial artists can play a greater role. In our hero's territory, everyone is a knight. Let's not talk about construction and production for now. At the very least, we shouldn't cause chaos at will. Ordinary people should be able to live and work in peace. There should be justice and no protection fees. Justice, justice, justice. Justice is the way of the knights. Jianghu people who are unwilling to comply should leave. Those who are willing to act in such a manner, we welcome, because that's how it should be on the heroic land. To leave a profound enough mark on this martial world, accommodate more knights, let more people know the land of young heroes. That's what I most want to do right now. Thinking about the future of the land of young heroes running this way, Duan Yun felt a surge of passion. Previously in Lishan City, a man named Zhao Deli who died, said he wanted to see a world full of heroic spirit. Duan Yun has always been doing this, but he found that his speed wasn't fast enough, and the results were not outstanding enough. This was all because he hadn't found an efficient way. This time returning to his hometown, Lishui City, gave him a certain enlightenment. It was all because the mark he left on the martial world was not deep enough. He must first create a profound and vast enough hero town. Let everyone see what a place full of heroic spirit is like, to attract more like-minded people, and only then can heroic spirit spread and heroic land expand. Attracting like-minded people is very promising. Look at how many like-minded people Qinghe City has attracted today. His hero town is so beautiful and dreamy. It will certainly have a greater attraction. That will be the benchmark of the future martial world until it spreads. Seeing Duan Yun with such an excited expression, although the Murong brothers didn't fully understand Duan Yun's meaning yet, just thinking about knights, heroic land, and the knight's mark made them excited as well. Yes, their place must be different from others. The Murong brothers asked, so where are we going? Duan Yun jumped off the table and said, go back to Yuzhu Manor. And then, Duan Yun slapped the table and said, the hero town isn't big enough, so we have to make it bigger. The heroic land isn't wide enough, so we have to expand. Yushu town is almost there, but I want small spring town. And I want Wangchun City too. I first want the people of Yun State to know what the land of young heroes is like. Feng Linger frowned and said, does that mean we have to compete for territory with the Mo sect? Duan Yun shook his head. It's not about competing for territory. If the Mo sect accepts our philosophy and is willing to let our philosophy spread, that would be best. The Murong brothers said, what if they don't accept? Duan Yun asked back, what do you say? The Murong brothers burst with heroic spirit and said, if they don't accept, we've given them face. Under the heavens, there is no land unfit for heroes. If they don't accept, then we'll take them on. Under the heavens, there is no land unfit for heroes. Well said. Well said. Duan Yun and the Murong brothers looked at each other deeply, and their palms came together with a clap. Let's go. Set off tomorrow morning, the Murong brothers shouted. At this time, Ning Qing asked, "What about Shining?" "Shining is still buried right now." "That's easy. Take the coffin on the road." At dawn the next morning, the Jade Pearl heroes had already set off. They were leaving this Qinghe Green City and heading towards their own young hero city. Thus, early in the morning, the people of Qinghe City saw a group of handsome men and beautiful women walking on the road with a panda and a donkey. The most peculiar was that handsome man. That man riding on a beautiful girl was strange enough. Even stranger was that he was shouldering a black coffin. As the girl on the ground walked, he and the coffin swayed along with great rhythm. The onlookers in Qinghe City watched them and began to discuss, thinking they were a group of evil people from somewhere. In Qinghe City, there were never a shortage of all kinds of Jianghu people. Qinghe City already had many Jianghu people, and someone had already guessed Duan Yun and his group's identity. Firstly, the Green Blade Demon had already cut people all over the place. Some had recognized him. Having recognized the somewhat ordinary-looking Green Blade Demon, and then seeing that handsome young man riding a woman and carrying a coffin, many people had already started retreating. Old Demon Duan, to be able to ride a beautiful maiden in such a manner, making the Green Blade Demon seem like a country dog. Who else could it be but old Demon Duan? Originally, the Green Blade Demon was quite intimidating here, but old Demon Duan's intimidation was multiples of his. Many had already started fleeing in a panic. The Green Blade Demon's favorite thing was to make people feel the green saber. At worst, he'd make their wives and fiancés sell themselves. But in the hands of old Demon Duan, it was a fallen disgrace, incontinence, a total family wipeout. Thinking about returning to Yuzhu Manor, everyone but Little Een was walking briskly. Little Een saw Yuzhu Manor as a real demon cave, a place where one could neither live nor die willingly. But to Duan Yun and his group, it was a familiar home. And this time, with new goals in mind, this home was not only warm but also carried a thrilling freshness. Indeed, thinking about the deep marks of the Jade Pearl heroes about to be made there, even shocking the entire Yun state, everyone felt quite excited. Riding on Little Een, Duan Yun surprisingly felt a sense of returning home to start a business. Constructing is more interesting than destroying. Indeed, thinking about how a familiar place becomes beautiful because of oneself, isn't that a form of enjoyment? The Murong brothers said it well. Under the heavens, there is no land unfit for heroes. No one can stand in his way. Halfway through, Fenglinger said, "Is Little Een a good ride?" "A good ride," Duan Yun said earnestly. "Then I'll try too." With that, Fenglinger leaped lightly onto the coffin Duan Yun was carrying. Ziyu, who should be possessed by green jade at this moment, teased, "Interesting, I'll try too." That said, she leaped lightly again and rode on top of Fenglinger. This seemed to be contagious, so Ning Qing couldn't help asking, "How is it up there?" Ziyu replied, "The scenery is great. Even the air smells sweet. This bun tastes delicious. As they say, the higher you go, the farther you see. Even eating a bun becomes delightful." Ning Qing said, "Can I go up too?" "Come on up." Ning Qing leaped and sat on Ziyu's shoulders. Seeing this, the Murong brothers excitedly said, "I want it too." In the next moment, he also sat on Ning Qing's shoulders. Big White saw this and waved his arms excitedly. Duan Yun was surprised. "Big White, you want to join too?" Big White nodded frantically. "Then up you go." With a light leap, Big White sat on the Murong brothers' head. At this moment, they looked like a column, all lined up with Xiong Chong. Little Yin's face darkened, and her steps became shaky. She gasped, "Duan Yun, I can't go on much longer." Duan Yun said, "Aren't you the one with innate divine strength?" Little Yin complained, "Even innate divine strength can't withstand this kind of burden." She finally saw clearly, none of these evil ones were normal. "Who can speak for me?" She glanced at the gray donkey next to her. Little Gray flicked its tail and moved away, as if afraid she'd drag it down too. Within the demon cave, even the donkey was no good. Duan Yun saw that Little Yin's footsteps had become unstable and said, "Little Yin, let me see your limits." Saying this, he lashed out with a lightning 5-chain whip. Instantly Little Yin straightened her back and sped up. Why, with just one lash of this whip, does it feel so exhausting yet satisfying? Can she leave this electric whip in the future? At this moment, Little Yin's second and third sisters were on their way, getting very close to them. Overcast day, deep mountains, an old, unnamed temple. This ancient temple is riddled with holes, resembling a decayed skeleton, teetering as if it might collapse. Judging by its appearance, it's impossible to tell how many years this temple has been abandoned, giving off a sense of rot from the inside out. The air is filled with the stench of wet mud, and this area is unusually silent. Suddenly, a large black bird resting on the roof flaps its wings swiftly and shoots into the sky. A few feathers fell from its wings, clearly startled. Yes, the old temple moved all of a sudden. The initially silent temple began to shake, as if something inside was trying to come out. The walls inside the temple already had cracks, and now the cracks widened, even emitting brilliant multicolored lights. Bang! Debris crumbled, and a child's head emerged. This head was adorned with 2 little braids, wobbling left and right, looking cute, but its eyes were ghostly white, terrifying without pupils. Those adorable braids combined with the ghostly eyes gave off an eerie vibe. Bang, bang, bang. At that moment, several similar heads appeared. These heads emerged from the walls, swaying side to side, making the temple appear as if countless heads had sprouted from the walls in this dark environment. Incredibly creepy. Every head was decorated with 2 small braids, each with different colors. As their heads continued to sway, colorful lights constantly emerged, making the entire temple glow and seemingly come back to life. With a booming sound, the entire wall crumbled, revealing the figure of a man dressed in splendid robes. His robes were inscribed with ink, phrases like, "Fist drinks martial world east to the sea. 1 year, 1 finger, 1 cycle of decay and prosperity," looking like poetry. This man himself appeared quite elegant, with graceful demeanor, resembling an immortal from the poems. But the immortal had something peculiar about him. Despite his dashing appearance, he wore a silly mouse hat, making him look rather comical. At this moment, this immortal stepped on those 7 white-eyed children as if riding a carriage, rather than standing on children. The children continued wobbling their heads like rattles, chuckling, turning the whole temple into a ghostly land, seemingly crawling with evil spirits. The immortal brushed off the dust on his mouse hat, looking at everything around him, suddenly speaking in a strong Qingzhou accent. "Where have you brought me?" At this point, the temple's plaque fell to the ground with a clang, vaguely showing the words "God of Killing Temple." God of Killing Temple. Heavenly State God of Killing Temple? This is 9 provinces martial world. The immortal was suddenly so excited he danced on the children. 11 years. 11 years. Finally, I, Wei Wuqing, have returned. Then he reached out, and with a swish, that startled black bird observing the scene was drawn into his hand. The immortal looked at this black bird, excitedly saying, 11 years. 11 years. Do you know how I've spent these 11 years? The black bird was panicked and confused, not understanding what this madman was saying, nor did it need to. For as soon as his hand closed, the bird turned into a blood mist. The man claiming to be Wei Wuqing put his mouse hat back on and said, "My brothers, my 12 star signs brothers, my good star rage peacock, my good disciples and grandchildren, I have returned," he shouted in the temple, his voice echoing through the mountains and forests. The heads of the 7 white-eyed children underneath him swayed until they became shadows, their braids intertwining into a rainbow-like pattern. "I've traveled from the divine tomb all the way here, even gaining these 7 demon children. Just my mount alone is surely unparalleled in this martial world. domineering and unmatched. It seems this immortal hasn't spoken to anyone for a long time. He kept talking to himself for quite a while after breaking through the wall. Then, he pulled on a few chains embedded in the demon children's flesh, laughing heartily. Let's go! Time to meet my good brothers and my good star rage. Let the world know that Wei Wuqing is back. As he spoke, the surrounding air seemed to rotate, as if countless invisible hands were stirring, creating an extraordinary momentum. Get down! Get down! Along the way, Duan Yun couldn't help but complain to the stack of people on his head. Little Een heard Duan Yun speaking for her, tears almost falling. The old demon still cares for me. When there are fewer people, stacking for a while is enough. If it's just little Een, outsiders might think we can't afford proper mounts. Get down. Under the request of Duan Yun, the leader of the group of heroes, little Een was soon left with just Duan Yun and the coffin. Duan Yun, wanting to change his mount for a while, had little Een carry the coffin, but jumped onto Big White's back himself. Big White was running, bobbing its head with delight. After indulging in the thrill of stacking, the Murong brothers saw little Een carrying the large coffin and felt heartbroken. Such a young girl doing such heavy labor seemed more painful than riding him. He couldn't help but exclaim, "If I could, I'd rather be ridden in her place." Everyone heard and turned their heads, including Big White and little Een. "You said that?" Duan Yun asked. "Aye." The Murong brother had barely uttered a word when Duan Yun and Big White leaped and together saddled on him. Following closely was little Een, carrying a coffin, riding on Duan Yun's shoulders. She seized the opportunity to reverse the heavenly gang, essentially riding on Duan Yun's head. Soon after, Feng Linger and her party, who hadn't tired of the fun, flew up as well. This time it was the Murong brothers whose steps faltered, saying, "I'm not born with divine strength, not adept at doing this. Just get down already, before you throw my back out." At this moment, Duan Yun already spoke up. "Murong brothers, let me see where your limits lie. Speed up." With a loud slap, Big White's bare paw suddenly covered his head. The Murong brothers cried out in pain, shouting, "It hurts so much!" Then, like a whirlwind, they rushed towards the nearby town. In this, only Little Gray was not on board, and could only frantically chase with his short legs. On the road, people only saw a panda riding on a person, with a stack of people and a coffin on top of the panda, rushing wildly, utterly astonished. Two Jianghu guests, who considered themselves worldly wise, witnessed this. One remarked emotionally, "Hey, junior sister, the martial world has gone insane in ways we don't recognize." The journey from Qingzhou to Yun State is long, with a need to traverse Yu State halfway. Yet this is indeed the road home. The party was joyful and at ease, except for the mounts little Een and Murong brothers. Yes, it was because of the pity for the pretty girl, young hero Murong also became a mount. The winding mountain path extended deep into Qingshan. Penetrating these steep Qingshan will lead to Yun State. Duan Yun and his party were all very happy. At this time, on another mountain peak, two beautiful girls were crying. The girl on the left shielded her brows with her hand, able to see far. At this moment, she cried, "Elder sister has been captured. How awful for elder sister, having to eat with animals at the same table." Beside her, the beautiful girl in the yellow dress replied, "But sometimes she seems quite happy. That's finding joy in despair. Or perhaps the elder sister has been driven mad by old demon. No, we must rescue elder sister." At this time, the girl in red on the left was already excited. The girl in the yellow dress held her back, saying, "Second sister, calm down. Elder sister is in danger, we can't be reckless. Elder sister is born with divine strength. Her body is tough. I'm impervious to blades and bullets. Body like golden edge. Even if captured and tortured in the cellar by old demon, I can withstand it. But you have keen senses, your body is soft, you heard along the way. This Mr. Duan's power is extraordinary. His fingers, once perfected, I'm afraid you won't be able to hold on. The girl in red thought about the scene her sister described, instinctively tightened her legs, shivered and said, "But sister, we must save her." The girl in the yellow dress nodded and replied, "Sisters united, strength cuts through gold. With your divine eyes and ears, added to my golden edge body and extraordinary wisdom, we shall surely save elder sister. We need to find the right opportunity." The girl in the yellow dress pondered aloud. "But, second sister, be patient. We must first rescue elder sister. And then when the 7 sisters reunite, we'll surely make this enemy's blood flow like a river." Saying this, the determination was already visible in the sisters' eyes. "It will definitely work." At noon, the sunshine was bright. This season, Yoon State had passed its hottest period, with the sunshine just right and the breeze gentle. On this day, the Jade Pearl heroes finally returned to familiar territory. Returned to Yushir Town. At Old Chen's roasted shop, they took a large table. This time, even Little Een was seated at the table. Because over this period, the Murong brothers successfully elevated themselves to the same level as the Mount Little Een. Asking him to sit at the Mount table, he was dissatisfied, claiming his significant contribution to the heroes, accusing Duan Yun of being heartless. Duan Yun and others couldn't stand his nagging, so they let him join the meal. Before long, Little Een also got a seat. Little Yin's background had already been disclosed to Feng Linger and others. She could be considered the daughter of an enemy. As a result, Feng Linger's view of Little Een improved considerably, and she began to see her as one of their own. An enemy's daughter wouldn't love an enemy, meaning her relationship with Duan Yun was rather pure and wouldn't match Ziyu's occasional claims of Little Een being a mount, and in fact Star Fury, which over time might evolve into lovers. The writer always imagining these scenarios day in and day out. Duan Yun and friends were old regulars at Old Chen's, and otherwise unseen for a period. Old Chun missed them dearly, offering 2 plates of crispy peanuts for free. Despite this brief absence, Old Chun looked older, his back more hunched. Still, the roast flavor remained authentic. Just then, 2 women in leopard print trousers walked in. Old Chun hurried out some silver ingots. The leopard print woman on the left glanced and asked, "Only 4 taels?" Old Chun, obsequiously posturing, said, "Fairy, isn't it always 4 taels?" Leopard print woman said, "This month, the gang leader's old mother is having a big birthday, and without setting 100 tables, how can it be adequate?" The gang leader said, "We might even have to subsidize. You lousy lot, pay up." Old Chin dared not argue and hurried to fetch more ingots. It was evident, as soon as he handed over the silver, his back seemed to hunch even more. Duan Yun and the others knew well, Old Chun made a living through hard-earned money. Yushir Town wasn't so bustling previously. Old Chun worked hard till exhaustion, bending his back in fatigue. Once Yushir Town's popularity rose, that bend worsened. Before, he had no thought of marrying. Duan Yun asked why he worked so tirelessly, and Old Chun simply laughed, seemingly enjoying the labor. Duan Yun thought once Yushir Town thrived, folks like Old Chun would earn more, and the town would flourish. But these leopard prints popped up unexpectedly. With such collection, surely Old Chun and others grew increasingly fatigued, but whether they could earn more was uncertain. An old mother's birthday taxing 20 taels per household. Yet at this rate, fear of losses lingered. At this point, Fonglinger said, "You see, your hometown not charging protection fee is an exception." Duan Yun shook his head. "Not an exception. I specifically addressed this matter back home, thus forming an atmosphere." The Murong brothers nodded. "Yes, it's just a mark that's not deeply imprinted." He couldn't help but ask, "Old Chen, what's the story with those 2 leopard prints just now?" Old Chun replied, "Those are fairies from the Leopard Pattern Gang." "Leopard Pattern Gang? Why had we not heard before?" The Murong brothers questioned. At least before they left, they had never heard of any Leopard Pattern Gang. Old Chun shook his head, seemingly uncertain himself. At this moment, a nearby traveling merchant at another table remarked, "Leopard Pattern Gang? Gang leader Leopard Pattern Ant Shui, known in the martial world as Snow leopard from the snow mount. Lowering his voice, the traveling merchant continued. Rumored to be related to a Mo sect elder. When he stated this, Duan Yun and the others understood. Leopard pattern Aunt Shui. Likely a mistress of a Mo sect elder. Speaking of which, despite Yusher town being influenced by heroic wind, incidents of crime drastically reduced, it still belonged to Mo sect sphere. Previously this town was distant and poor. Mo sect paid little attention. Later, due to the demon-slaying conference's graveyard battle, and then the moonlit azure dragon incident, the place became a popular Jianghu destination, and the crowds flocked. With growing popularity came more silver. Naturally, Mo sect's people also arrived. This leopard pattern Aunt Shui probably arrived for the same reasons. The party returned to their familiar area. They enjoyed their meals heartily until this incident surfaced, changing the mood. On the way, they even thought Duan Yun's plan was a bit insane. But don't know whether due to long companionship with him, being influenced, they also grew adverse to similar issues like charging protection fees. Especially after witnessing such an incident just now, their dislike intensified. They always believed, excluding small Springtown, at least Yusher town was under their protection, their territory. But after such an event, not only did they feel discredited, but it felt peculiar. As though someone peed on your lawn. All of a sudden, everyone felt the hero imprint was crucial. Duan Yun waved his hand, and everyone swiftly departed. It was time to imprint on this land with their mark. Within 3 days, they would let leopard pattern Aunt Shui know this land is marked hero. At dusk, Yuzhu Manor was bustling with activity. Little Ian looked at the manor, resembling a haunted house, and confusedly asked, "Is this where you've been staying?" Duan Yun replied, "Don't look any longer. This is the renovated version. When I first came, the bathroom had severe leaks." At this moment, little Yin's fantasies couldn't help but shatter. On her journey, she had imagined countless times the image of the demon-led demon cave, as perilous as a mountain of knives and sea of flames, or the abyss hell, but in reality what she saw was just an old, dilapidated place, with a vast graveyard behind it. Even as a gift, people might despise it. Yet, this group of people treasured this place. Unable to hold back, Little Ian asked, "Is this place hiding something extraordinary?" Duan Yun gave her a thumbs up, saying, "You really understand us more and more. Follow me." Saying this, Duan Yun led Little Ian towards the bathroom. The Morong brothers and others knew that the old demon was at it again, eager to show someone his supreme cellar, and couldn't help but initiate healing. Looking at Little Yin's graceful young figure, the Morong brothers couldn't help but feel a pang of heartache. Why can't so many beautiful girls escape the fate of entering this old demon's cellar? Thinking of the many beautiful girls, among whom was his own sister, he felt even more heartache. Sister is the #1 in the world. In the cellar, lights were lit. Little Ian looked around the cellar, finding it much better than outside. Several places had been renovated with decent materials. Yet Little Ian still found it lacking, feeling very disappointed. Because the materials seemed patchy, as if gathered from various places, with no careful design. Not to mention the secret chambers on Yellow Jade Island, even the buildings on the island were much better. To think this was a demon capable of killing a mother. Why was this demon cave so simple? Could it be that he really only debuted 2.5 years ago? By the way, she had just heard that this shabby manor belonged to the Morong brothers. Meaning even the land wasn't his. Is this really the renowned old demon Duan she's known? Duan Yun seemed to read Little Yin's thoughts and said, "Why do I feel you're looking down on my young hero cellar?" Little Ian was startled, clamping her legs tight, nervously responding, "Am I? If I say you are, then you are. I think you're sick. Otherwise, how could you have such outrageous thoughts?" "Little Ian, let me see where your symptoms are." Little Ian turned her head in horror, just to see sparks already shooting towards her. "No! Ah!" In the cellar, the cries of patient Little Ian suddenly echoed. The Morong brothers instinctively lay on the cellar door, patting it and painfully saying, "Old demon, be gentle." Feng Linger, passing by to watch, couldn't help but mock seeing him like this. "You're getting so worked up for someone you don't even know well down there." The Murong brothers, with a face full of heartache, retorted, "Who says we aren't acquainted? We clearly share the same fate." He meant being a ride for a while on the way. Feng Linger turned her head towards the kitchen and said, "Ning Qing, your ugly man is once again pining over another woman." The Murong brothers were startled upon hearing this, quickly got up, and ran back. He originally wanted to retort something about the ugly man, but didn't dare. Little Yin's voice continued to come from the cellar, while on the graveyard above, the second sister had her ear to the ground, hands tightly clenching the mud. The third sister anxiously asked, "Second sister, what did you hear?" The second sister said, "Big sister is being toyed with by the old demon in the cellar. Now she's better off dead." The third sister immediately became more anxious and said, "Damn old demon Duan. Come at me if you dare." Saying this, she was about to head down the mountain, but was stopped by the second sister. The second sister had already stood up and said, "Don't panic. It's already over." The third sister exclaimed in surprise, "Old demon Duan is that quick?" When little Een came out of the cellar, her eyes were dazed, and her feet wobbly. In the cellar, she experienced the pain, comfort, and variety of pleasures. Now her body felt light as a feather. After being baptized by the old demon Duan, the three-petaled lotus mark on the sole of her foot was still burning hot. Throughout this journey, Duan Yun had pushed her to her limits. Even with her innate divine strength, unlike the third sister's golden body, her body had sustained some minor injuries. The old demon Duan's treatment methods, though bizarre, made her feel pain, comfort, and delight, with currents flowing through her body akin to three flowers gathering at the top, caused her toes to curl in near spasms, but truly healed her injuries. Now she only felt warm all over, with the true qi injected by the old demon Duan still radiating warmth, healing her body. At this moment, a wild thought popped into her head. If she could receive this kind of treatment in the future, then even if she got injured or severely injured, it wouldn't be a problem. Let old demon Duan hurt me, and then heal me. When this thought emerged, Littleine quickly shook her head frantically, inwardly saying, "What a ruthless old demon Duan. Not only tormenting my body, but also subtly trying to transform my spirit. I, Littleine, will never give in." Back at Yuzhu Manor's headquarters, everyone was in a good mood. The Jade Pearl heroes were discussing heroic land matters while barbecuing. Speaking of this, the Murong brothers got very excited. The chaos in Qinghe City had greatly reduced his standing among the Jade Pearl heroes, almost to the level of Little Een. This time, he would give it his all to reclaim everything that belonged to him. After all, it was on their territory where transformation was exhilarating. And currently, the newly emerged leopard print and Shui would be their starting point. The reason the Snow Leopard Gang dares to flaunt its prowess in Yusher Town is not only because they have the Mo sect backing them, but also because they haven't left a deep enough hero's mark here. These days, he had completely understood what Duan Yun meant. If you haven't deeply left a hero's mark, making it like an indelible brand, then naturally, others won't take you seriously. At this moment, he is fully prepared to fiercely imprint a mark on Aunt Shui the leopard. Thinking of this, Murong suddenly felt the urge to pee. As he went to the outhouse, he got more and more excited, peeing with such gusto that the urine almost flew into his mouth. By the time Murong came out of the outhouse, Duan Yun and the others had already discussed the critical part: how to deal with Aunt Shui the leopard. Feng Linger said, "I think we can talk things over first. If that leopard woman shows face and obediently retreats, we win without fighting." Ziyu said, "And if she doesn't agree?" Duan Yun said, "Then we shall see how she meets her end. She's the first shot we fire, and it must ring loud and clear." Feng Linger nodded and said, "Right, just like how you made Huangshan girl spray her golden sword. It must leave a deep impression at least." Duan Yun mused, "So this time, a urine spray on the leopard print? No, that's not very creative. Others might think I, Mr. Duan or young hero Duan, have no new tricks. How about letting her get hit by the divine needle? scratching herself crazily while spraying leopard print. Upon hearing this, little Een couldn't help feeling itchy and had the illusion of wanting to pee. Because she knew all too well the frightfulness of old demon Duan's two techniques. Either one alone could cause extreme suffering, and with both, it wouldn't just be heaven, but unbearable pain. No problem. Let those around witness her miserable state. The more miserable, the better, Fong Linger replied. At this moment, Murong volunteered. This time, I am willing to be the vanguard, capture Aunt Shui the leopard, and leave her with a deep hero's mark. The rest is up to you to decide. Duan Yun and his crew could tell that Murong was eager to earn merit and so agreed to let him try. After Shining entered the coffin, Fong Linger had become the second hero only beneath Duan Yun and contemplated. Aunt Shui the leopard shouldn't be too hard to deal with, but we have to be cautious with the Mo sect backing her. A simple foe they are not. Duan Yun asked seriously, in what way are they not simple? Since his debut, he had destroyed quite a few sects, and all were said to be not simple. Fong Linger clearly knew this, but she still said the Mo sect wasn't simple, which showed the sect was indeed formidable. Fong Linger answered, the Mo sect is one of the longest-standing sects in the martial world, surviving for 2,000 years without perishing. 1,000 years ago, the Mo sect had a saying, Red Gate is Red Gate, Bamboo Gate is Bamboo Gate, Mo sect governs all. At that time, the leader of the Mo sect was called Juzi, symbolizing the rules of the martial world, and few dared to defy. Later, the Mo sect split into 4 major demon sects, acting erratically, widely known in the martial world as the 4 Great Demon Sects. During that period, wherever the 4 Great Demon Sects went, no one dared to call themselves a demon. Now, those rebranding themselves as the Mo sect happened to be the most powerful lineage of the Mo sect formed from a marriage alliance between the Gu and Hua families 200 years ago, and they aimed to govern everyone again. This saying is quite rebellious. You have to know that 200 years ago, the imperial court was far from as weak as it is today, and martial sects were rather cautious of it. Yet the Mo sect got away with it, and now look at Wangchun City, it was all orchestrated by the Mo sect and the court together. Fong Linger briefly narrated the history of the Mo sect, especially from 1,000 years ago. Even Murong wasn't too familiar with it. But everyone could tell that the Mo sect is a very profound and formidable sect trying to control the world. Even after it split into 4 demon sects, it still oppressed people, making it hard to rise. Murong couldn't help but exclaim, Red Gate is Red Gate, Bamboo Gate is Bamboo Gate, Mo sect governs all. Such arrogance. Hey, doesn't this saying eerily resemble our slogan? Under heaven, there is nowhere untouched by heroic spirit. Heroes belong to everyone. Murong and Duan Yun exchanged a glance, and Murong slapped his thigh. Plagiarism! The Mo sect 1,000 years ago plagiarized our phrasing without even bothering to notify us. Totally disrespectful. Duan Yun nodded. Plagiarism is shameful, leaving no face. These are 2 great sins. Offending the young hero and not apologizing while daring to have a lover come to Yushir Town to collect protection fees. That's the 3rd great sin. Listening to Murong and Duan Yun's conversation, little Een felt like her worldview was crumbling. What do you mean plagiarized your phrasing from 1,000 years ago? What do you mean no respect, with you both seriously speaking nonsense like this? Someone who didn't know would think you were madmen. Yet other heroines had long grown accustomed to it. A young hero, no matter what he says, makes sense. In facing such sects as the Mo sect, only people who fear neither heaven nor earth would dare to label them with sins and challenge them. After hanging around with Duan Yun and his crew for quite some time, having herself become the red-face heroine, Fong Linger knew all too well the terrifying prowess of Duan Yun and his glorious track record, as though he could pierce the sky itself. But when faced with the Mo sect, she still felt pressured, for this sect once truly played the role of heaven. Young hero Duan, known for his steadiness, noticed her concern and said, Don't be pressured. At worst, I'll find a chance to push the 12 layers of spring rain back to 10 layers. Hearing this, Murong, who was drinking tea, spewed it out through his nostrils. How did it suddenly jump to 10 layers? Duan Yun looked at Murong and explained, Your ancestor, Murong ancestor, could bring 11 layers of spring rain into existence, can we descendants lag behind? Actually, I had long discovered some secrets of 10-layered spring rain. Your ancestor spoke of spring rain starting at 10 layers, alarming gods and spirits, and he himself had ominous ends in his later years, all due to demon electricity. Demon electricity? Being the most gifted in generations of the Murong family, mastering their sword technique to an extreme, Murong actually couldn't keep up with Duan Yun's train of thought. My love unlimited, you could say, is 9.5 layers of spring rain, because only in such conditions can I avoid the demon electricity making my whole body convulse. Any higher, and the demon electricity feels tangible, causing not only body spasms but also the illusion of growing feathers, all from insufficient physical strength. Recently, I have been traversing north and south riding Little Een, constantly pushing her limits, and discovered a way to enhance my physical strength by training and using it more, forcing out my body's potential. Ordinary battles can no longer push out my potential. Only masters who can threaten and wound me can. If the Mo sect is strong enough with my unparalleled training talent and extraordinary wisdom, breaking through 10-layered spring rain in battle should be routine. So, if the Mo sect dares to show no respect, they will be perfect nourishment for my breakthrough to 10-layered spring rain. Upon uttering the last sentence, Duan Yun suddenly became boiling with blood. Yes, only non-trivial battles can force him to move forward. If the Mo sect doesn't show respect, they would be his best nourishment. Listen to this, is this even proper speech? What do you mean breaking through is a routine operation? Can that be considered routine? This sounds extremely absurd, but when it comes to Duan Yun, somehow it feels immediately plausible. Murong was astonished and said, "I'll handle Aunt Shui. Just let Aunt Shui be my nourishment then." He couldn't handle the Mo sect, but Aunt Shui could serve as his nourishment. To the group of heroes, Duan Yun and Murong radiated heroic spirit, but in Little Yin's eyes, how it reeked of demon electricity. To take someone as nourishment, could that be considered proper? Against sects like the Mo sect, only those fearless individuals like them dared to attribute sins to it and dared challenge their dominion. Having mingled with Duan Yun and his crew for quite some time, and having turned into a red-faced heroine herself, Feng Linger was well aware of Duan Yun's fearsome prowess and his brilliant feats, as if he could tear the sky open. However, even when confronting the Mo sect, she still felt the pressure, for there indeed was a time when this sect even ruled the heavens themselves. But facing the Mo sect didn't faze young hero Duan, who was accustomed to facing insurmountable odds. Compared to the Mo sect, even though she knew Duan Yun's terrifying power, she spoke with a deep understanding of his brilliant achievements and the seemingly insurmountable obstacles he overcame. Nevertheless, Duan Yun was unabashed as he replied, "If the Mo sect dares to show disrespect, it'll serve as my stepping stone to push the 12 layers of spring rain right up to 10 layers." Hearing this, and while drinking tea, Murong almost spat some out through his nose. Duan Yun went on to clarify, "Your ancestor, Murong ancestor, manifested 11 layers of spring rain in his time. Do you think we, his descendants, can be any less? To be honest, I already reached 9.5 layers of spring rain, because in that state, I can only avoid the demon electricity that would otherwise electrify me from head to toe, even giving me the illusion of a full-body zap, all due to my physical endurance not being enough. Over these times, riding Little Een through the south and north, constantly challenging my limits, I've managed to find a way to outmatch them. I realize that only highly skilled opponents who can make me feel threatened and capable of inflicting injury can do so. If the Mo sect is truly robust enough, overcoming 10-layered spring rain should be straightforward with my unmatched training and extraordinary wisdom. So I say, the Mo sect gives me no face. They just might serve well as stepping stones for this young hero to break through in the 10-layered spring rain. Listen, being able to shatter the sky with just one challenge, is such a feat truly a common occurrence? It sounds quite absurd, but when it comes to Duan Yun, it suddenly seems inevitable. Faced with such colossal opposition from Mo sect, only someone fearless like him would dare to pin the blame and challenge their authority. "All right, I'll take on Aunt Shui this time," Murong exclaimed with determination. "I'll make Aunt Shui my stepping stone." Although he couldn't take down the Mo sect, he couldn't resist the chance to make Aunt Xue his first trophy of heroism. To the group of heroes, Duan Yun and Murong embodied a radiant heroic spirit, but to little Yin, they exuded more of that demon electricity. To treat people as nourishment, could such a thing be proper? Facing a powerful sect like the Mo sect, it took an audacious person not afraid of heaven or earth to dare to assign sins and challenge them. Being around Duan Yun and his crew long enough, she had become the red-face heroine herself. She understood the terrifying nature of Duan Yun and knew of his glorious feats, as if he could tear the sky open. Yet despite all this, facing the Mo sect, she still felt pressured because this very sect once truly controlled the world. Facing something like the Mo sect, only someone like young hero dare accuse them of sins and challenge them. So Murong brothers are saying, "I'll handle Aunt Xue this time. Let Aunt Xue be my nourishment then." June 12th, just before dawn, the leopard pattern gang was bustling with activity. Men and women dressed in leopard pattern skirts were all busy, and the kitchen was already in full swing. Because today was gang leader old leopard print Auntie's mother's 60th birthday, and they planned to set up 108 tables. The chefs in the kitchen were renowned cooks invited from faraway Liezhou and U State. Even the assistants were personally brought over. Each of the 108 tables had to have 36 dishes, 22 hot dishes, and 14 cold dishes. The 4 renowned chefs were responsible for different dishes, but it was clear none of them accepted the superiority of the others, furtively working hard, determined to win at this banquet. Early in the morning, fragrant aromas wafted from the vicinity of the leopard pattern gang. A few destitute men holding hard bread stood nearby, taking a deep sniff, then taking a bite of their bread, their expressions akin to smoking Red Tower Mountain cigarettes. Just then, 2 women from the leopard pattern gang, dressed in leopard print skirts, emerged. Seeing this scene, the 2 women kicked the destitute men away like playing soccer. Such poor trash, dreaming of partaking in the gang leader's mother's good fortune, truly unlucky. While speaking, they disdainfully spat at the men bleeding from their kicks, swaying their hips and walking away in their leopard pattern skirts. They soon encountered a big beard. "Isn't this Mr. Nan? Arriving so early?" One of the leopard pattern women quickly approached and said. The big beard gave her posterior a few loud slaps and said, "How can I not be concerned with Auntie Xue's matters?" He then pinched the leopard pattern woman's cheek, laughing heartily, and walked away. Being pinched and slapped, the leopard pattern woman was not at all disgusted, but rather pleased. Because Mr. Nan had money. Wealthy men just appear more pleasing, more valuable. Being able to slap her posterior meant he had her in his heart. Old leopard print Auntie Xue was an honest gang leader, and the leopard pattern gang was an honest gang. An extravagant banquet of this scale, as the gang members collecting protection fees said, collecting 20, 30 taels per household, would still incur losses. After all, the gang leader's mother's birthday celebration must be grand. The dishes must be good, and to experience the gang's generosity and grandeur, hardly any gifts were received. Anyway, the silver spent on this banquet didn't come from their pockets. Taking the silver from these merchants and common folk to give their mother a grand birthday celebration was face-giving to them. Of course, those commoners overly charged with protection fees were definitely not among the invitees. Those attending Auntie Xue's mother's birthday banquet naturally had to be prominent figures. Indeed, the leopard pattern gang's prestige was truly overwhelming, not even reaching the C hour, yet numerous distinguished guests had already arrived, adding to the liveliness. Most of these distinguished guests were Jianghu people, quite renowned in the martial world, such as Cold Mountain Old Leg Cripple Zhang, Windflower Cloud Milk Squeezing Palm Zhang Dad, and others. Regardless, any Jianghu guest with some reputation in the area had arrived, some even from afar. The leopard pattern gang was mostly composed of women, and today they were not stingy with their beauty. The leopard pattern skirts made from flower leopard and clouded leopard skins were worn extremely short, revealing their white thighs. Looking around, flower leopard, clouded leopard, golden leopard prints were everywhere, dazzling to the eyes. Of course, the most eye-catching was Auntie Leopard and her 60-year-old mother. Aunt Shui dressed in pure white, with snow leopard patterns not only on her skirt hem but also on her legs. Her disciples couldn't wait to reveal everything they could, yet her legs remained wrapped in snow leopard skin. The snow leopard skin clinging to her legs appeared tight, but in reality, was more enticing. At a glance, she seemed like a beautiful female leopard, drawing everyone's gaze. While sitting there, she held a pipe, gently smoking, as if sucking in people's souls. The pipe was a pure silver color, etched with snowflake patterns, reportedly brought down from Snow Mountain by Aunt Shui when she entered the Jianghu. Amidst the swirling smoke, only her leopard-patterned legs could be seen, making her all the more alluring. Not only Auntie Leopard, but even her 60-year-old mother was still considered charming in many people's eyes. Of course, everyone was looking and indulging their eyes, but dared not be too reckless. Everyone knew Auntie Shui was romantically involved with the Mo sect's second elder. The leopard pattern gang had only been rooted here for half a year, and such reputation was inextricably linked to this relationship. Among these guests, probably half were drawn by the Mo sect elder's influence. Thus, the most prestigious guests were undoubtedly those from the Mo sect. Just as the sea hour arrived, Li Mafei's first disciple, Li De, led a group to pay respects to his partner's master. "Greetings, master." Li De respectfully bowed to Aunt Shui, even secretly taking in a breath, hoping to catch the scent of his master wrapped in leopard patterns. Whether a psychological suggestion or real, he felt a wild fragrance enter his lungs, lingering. Immediately after, he paid respect to the charming old mother. "Happy birthday, Grandmaster." Then, with a gesture, his junior disciples presented the birthday gifts. Gold peaches totaling 3. Li De explained to Aunt Leopard, "Auntie Master, the master is currently in a crucial period of seclusion. Unable to attend personally, please understand." Aunt Leopard was in a fantastic mood today. Her gaze lingeringly replied, "Of course I understand. He's on the path of being the most manly man in the world. How could I not understand?" Aunt Shui from the leopard pattern gang was well aware that her husband was practicing a divine skill called Mo Ro Flying Thunder God. The sight of a man completely covered in moving muscles resembling eggs left her in a trance. How could one find such a man covered entirely in eggs? Once this was mastered, how happy would she be? At this moment, Aunt Shui from the leopard pattern gang was even happier, her face revealing a sweet and alluring smile. She had come down from the Snow Mountain, and her good days were inseparable from this man. The birthday banquet began on time, with a constant stream of musical sounds filling the air, guests exchanging toasts in a lively atmosphere. There wasn't just food, but also entertainment. The female disciples of the leopard pattern gang, dressed in leopard prints, twisted their waists, danced on the wooden stage, making the leopard print skirts rustle loudly. Such a spectacle isn't often seen, yet many people continued chatting as they ate. It can only be said that the banquet held by the 4 famous chefs truly overshadowed the twisting young ladies on stage with its colors, aromas, and flavors. Of course, some people watched while eating and exclaimed with satisfaction. Halfway through the banquet, the leopard print young ladies left the stage, and a crowd focused on eating, drinking, and chatting. Aunt Shui from the leopard pattern gang sat at the main table, surrounded by prominent figures apart from members of the Mo sect. She ate a bite of food, took a puff of smoke, looking very graceful. Some people even thought her gaze was pure. No wonder she's a snow leopard woman coming down from the Snow Mountain. She looks just so pure. Unfortunately, being Elder Li's wife from the Mo sect, they dared not entertain thoughts. By this time, guests had drunk quite a lot, and conversations increased. At this point, a voice came from one table. "Brother, how many places does the leopard pattern gang collect protection fees from?" This person was none other than Murong. He was mingling with Ning Qing, eating and drinking. There's a saying, "Eat the hand softens, take the hand short." But a young hero like Murong had no such burden. After he was full, he planned to stir things up, and there was a great possibility that he'd leave a profound young hero mark on Aunt Shui from the leopard pattern gang. Let's just say this Aunt Shue from the leopard pattern gang was truly a beauty. Even her mother was decent. The person next to him frowned and said, "Brother, how can you not know this and still eat here?" For a moment, this person seemed to feel that Murong lowered his status, showing displeasure. To eat at this birthday banquet, one must be someone of distinction. This fellow seemed quite ordinary and was clearly an intruder. Small Springtown, Town, Jade Dyeing Workshop, all the suburban areas here, their territory of the leopard pattern gang. Aunt Shue from the leopard pattern gang was in a great mood today, carrying fine wine and toasting table by table. By this point, she had reached near Murong's table and had roughly heard the conversation. Beside her, her most loyal disciple had already shot her an inquiring glance. It's not just anyone who can eat at this birthday banquet. Aunt Shue from the leopard pattern gang whispered, "Handle him after it's over." She didn't want this insolent intruder to ruin the day's atmosphere. At this point, Aunt Shue from the leopard pattern gang and her mother arrived. There were acquaintances at this table, and Aunt Shue couldn't resist smiling and saying, "Brother Lin Shuangdao, it's been a while." "Greetings, Aunt Shue." Wishing Mrs. Shue longevity like the southern mountains. Everyone at this table stood up, respectfully offering birthday wishes. After all, it's not often that Aunt Shue personally comes to toast. Even acquaintances don't frequently encounter such an event. Murong and Ning Qing were also among them. After they drank, Aunt Shue gazed at the pair, unable to resist asking, "You two look somewhat unfamiliar." Murong responded boldly, "I'm Murong. She is Ning Qing. Having drunk your mother's wine today, I shall offer you a gift." "What gift?" At this point, people at nearby tables showed interest. They knew well enough Aunt Shue's temper. She seemed elegant and pure, yet her tactics were rather ruthless. Daring to eat and drink without proper invitation, one never knows what torment awaits. This woman's beauty went without saying, yet the seemingly ordinary man dared to offer a gift. Murong looked at her, seriously saying, "I heard your leopard pattern gang collects protection fees around Town and Small Springtown, even treating people like balls, kicking them around, yet offering no compensation if they're kicked to death. If the leopard pattern gang agrees to stop collecting protection fees in the future, focus on maintaining order, till soil and open land to benefit the common folk, you can be offered a chance to correct your ways. This chance is the gift for you and your mother." After that, Murong placed half a cup of wine in front of Aunt Shue from the leopard pattern gang, saying, "Drink it and consider it done." Upon hearing these words, people in the vicinity felt their minds about to explode. This rascal had drank so much wine and dared to utter such words to Aunt Shue at such an event? This wouldn't just result in simple dismemberment. Thrilling. Thrilling. Watching a confrontation is indeed stimulating, especially at such a birthday banquet. Aunt Shue from the leopard pattern gang was taken aback. Then the leopard print on her body started to move. This indicated her chi blood was surging inside her. Even though this person seemed drunk, saying such words at this event was humiliating. Duan Yun saw this, seriously saying, "I'll repeat, her name is Ning Qing, and my name is Murong." "Murong, you son of AB***************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** Sue's finger was already darting towards his eye socket like lightning. Morong didn't expect this woman to dare to be disrespectful upon hearing the famous names of Morong young hero and heroine Ning Qing. Can only be said that his reputation wasn't loud enough. Many in the martial world knew that old demon Duan had a green saber demon by his side, but few knew that green saber demon was called Morong. If he claimed to be the green blade demon, or even the green saber young hero, many present would have reacted. Unfortunately, he is not Duan Yun. Duan Yun is the kind of person whose very alias can intimidate everyone. Indeed, names like Duan Lang, Morong Fu, Su Xian, etc. are practically taboo in the martial world, embedded in the demon's survival rules. Regrettably, the Morong brothers only have the green blade as a resonant name. Therefore, the people with leopard print Snow Ant didn't react to him at all and gave him no consideration, demanding his death. The Morong brothers were shocked. This nasty woman actually gave no respect to young hero Morong and went directly for my eyes. His fingers stretched out, snapped, catching leopard print snow ant's finger. Such swift change startled everyone. Leopard print snow ant's face darkened, realizing, this person is not here to freeload but to smash the place. After all, this is the leopard print gang's domain. Indeed the MO6 ground, daring to smash the place today. Where did this fool come from? Leopard print snow ant suddenly used her real skill, and her right foot kicked fiercely. As this kick sprung forth, the leopard print became an afterimage, not to mention a piercing sound of air tearing through. The Morong brothers' expression changed. True chi surged in his left arm, shielding his face. With a loud bang, the nearby table was torn apart by the leg force, and the Morong brothers slid back, causing sparks as his shoes scraped the ground. In the next moment, leopard print snow ant stretched her leopard print long leg, hopping onto the table with only 2 legs. She looked agile and sly, like a true snow leopard. The key was she maintained a mysterious balance. This table, although its legs were torn by the leg force and only 2 were left, still stood firm. The Morong brothers shook his somewhat numb hand, saying, "Interesting. What nonsense. Dare to mess around here." At this time, Li De, master disciple of second elder of the Mo sect, brought people rushing over. Ning Qing kicked a stool beside him and it shot out like an arrow. Almost simultaneously, leopard print snow ant moved. She pounced down, her whole body leopard print, looking truly like a swift leopard. The Morong brothers kicked his right leg, aiming to kick her belly. At this moment, leopard print snow ant clamped her legs, surprisingly pinching Morong brothers' leg. Then her killer move followed. A silver light sliced through the air, coldly striking. This snow mountain source snowflake pipe has claimed countless lives. By this time, it was too late for Morong brothers to retreat, as his leg was tightly pinched by her leopard print legs. Leopard print snow ant seemed to see the scene of this person's head being pierced. But next moment, only a clang was heard, and sparks flared. A red knife blocked the pipe's thrust. Leopard print snow ant couldn't even clearly see how the knife appeared. It's not her fault. Morong brothers, due to long-term sliding, had precise control over his body muscles. The knife was clearly at his waist, yet vibrations sent it up like invisible hands thrusting it fiercely. The knife edge and pipe clashing, the sound was crisp. Next moment, continuous blasting sounds rang out, knife edge and pipe entwining, sparking brightly. Only hearing, "Oh!" a cry of pain, leopard print snow ant slid and kneeled away. It was because she was hit by a knee strike from Morong brothers. Morong brothers' left leg was pinched, but right leg remained. This knee strike was powerful and heavy, making her feel her belly churn and intestines about to spill. Morong brothers succeeded with a move, dragged the knife along in pursuit. Next instant, his knife chopped toward leopard print snow ant. Leopard print snow ant endured intense abdomen pain, lifted her pipe and clanked to block the knife. But the knife's momentum was fierce. She couldn't suppress it. Knife edge tilted by the pipe, slicing into her shoulder with a crack. Morong brothers' right leg lifted again, knife forced down to dig deeper, while the right leg flicked a kick. But at this moment, only hearing a whoosh, leopard print snow ant's bosom expanded a bit. This bustiness lasted only a moment, because leopard print snow ant was intensely inhaling and exhaling. Swish! The pipe suddenly sprayed smoke, like an arrow. Morong brothers didn't linger. He withdrew knife, defending, sweeping the smoke arrows away. But he still smelled the smoke. It seemed to carry a hint of minty aroma, with a snowy mountain crispness. Leopard print snow ant suffered losses, quickly spun, trying to flee with the smoke. But Morong brothers had seen many battles. The opponent didn't match his strength. How could he let her escape? He seized the moment, lifted his right foot, and delivered 2 fierce whip kicks to leopard print snow ant's groin. Her pants made of snow leopard skin were quite thick, but Morong brothers' kicks were brutal, splitting the leopard skin while the force penetrated, causing deep pain. While the opponent painfully curled, Morong brothers grabbed her ankle, lifted his right hand, intending to leave his hero mark, hero's palm print, Indeed, stamping dozens of Crimson Heroes' palm prints on her was what Morong brothers intended at first sight. Slap! His first palm print slammed on her right thigh. Leopard print Aunt Shui let out a pitiful cry of pain. But this was a battle for the Morong brothers to return to the forefront of young heroes, with no intention of showing mercy. Moreover, they didn't like older women. Watching him channel his true chi, the second palm was about to fall. At this moment, a crackling sound was heard, and the leopard print underwear, already split from his kick, suddenly burst into pieces, from which a new smoke arrow emerged. It turned out that, in this critical moment, leopard print Aunt Shui had taken a fierce puff from her pipe, and then the smoke arrow shot out from her crotch. She came from Snow Mountain, never parting from her smoke, and long-term smoking had honed her into mastering this technique of Snow Mountain smoke arrow. At first, her breath was like an arrow, coming from her mouth, but as her skills deepened, she could emit breath like an arrow from every orifice. So the smoke arrow that emerged from her crotch caught the Morong brothers off guard. The Morong brothers instinctively circulated their true chi to their faces, blocking this arrow. Breath like an arrow, chi in the shape of an arrow. This smoke arrow tore through the Morong brothers' true chi and also made a small cut on their skin. But it wasn't a real arrow, so it was just a scratch. This time, the smoke's flavor was very strong, instantly filling the Morong brothers' brains. It contained not only the icy mintiness of Snow Mountain but also a salty river freshness. Duan Yun felt his mind go blank. His eyes became innocent. Leopard print Aunt Shui, having scored a hit, wanted to escape while her opponent was innocent. But just as she kicked away the opponent's hand, a voice shouted, "I want to be a hero," followed by a series of terrifying palm strikes. Although the smoke made them innocent, the Morong brothers' determination to return to the forefront of the Jade Pearl heroes merged with their instincts. In a snap, leopard print Aunt Shui took 10 palms. Her snow leopard skin burst open, the leopard print twisted, and she could hardly get up. Then she was captured by young hero Morong. The onlookers were stunned. They came to enjoy a feast and ended up seeing the feast's host being captured like this, in a place that was the Mo sect's territory. Even the several disciples of the Mo sect didn't fare well, because of Ning Qing's palm wind which flowed and was unpredictable, seemingly light but powerful enough to make flesh and blood explode. Where did this demon come from? The Morong brothers grabbed leopard print Aunt Shui in triumph, and just as they were about to celebrate, a woman suddenly approached, raising her hand in a palm strike. This woman was none other than the birthday girl, the old leopard print auntie. The mad woman. The Morong brothers sensed the strike and smoothly elbowed back. With 2 banging sounds, the Morong brothers took a hit, stumbled back 3 steps, while the old leopard print auntie was knocked to the ground, unable to get up. The palm strike from the old leopard print auntie wasn't light, and the Morong brothers felt a searing pain in their kidneys, suspecting serious internal injuries, requiring at least 10 days to recover. Their strength was much higher than these 2 women, intending to emulate old demon Duan, capturing opponents effortlessly while bantering, but unexpectedly got pecked by this mad woman. Fury surged up, and they gave the old leopard print auntie a barrage of heroic palms. In the eyes of the crowd, the Morong brothers' palm striking technique was like someone frantically stamping seals. Consequently, the charming old leopard print auntie also ended up marked all over and was captured. The Morong brothers, holding a leopard print Aunt Shui in each hand, grumbled, "I told you I'm Brother Morong. Do you have a problem with your brains?" At this moment, someone realized and said, "Brother Morong, Green Blade Demon, run!" With these words, the crowd scattered in panic. Leopard print Aunt Shui wanted to call for a group fight, but before she could speak, most of the people had already run off. The Jianghu people fled in succession. The frame of the leopard pattern gang's main gate was smashed in the process. If they didn't run now, when would they? They only came to have a feast. They couldn't leave their lives here and let others eat their feast. Seeing this, Brother Morong couldn't help but shout, "Please spread the word." It was the most handsome young hero Morong from Yuzhu Manor who captured them. Young hero Morong, invincible in the world. With these words, people ran even faster. I want to be a hero. I want to be a hero. I want to be a hero. The whole afternoon, what was supposed to be a silent haunted house in the Yuju Manor would occasionally resound with such shouts, making little Een, who had just arrived, tremble with fear. In her perception, it was the green blade demon going mad. He went and caught the gang leader of the leopard pattern gang and his over 70-year-old mother, only to go mad upon returning, showing that this madness is a common state for him. In comparison, it instead made old demon Duan seem more stable and adorable. In the backyard, the Murong brothers said this with clear eyes now and then. Duan Yun climbed out of the cellar and said, I interrogated them. You inhaled her family's mystical snow mountain smoke that has been passed down for 5 generations. That's why you're like this. Just use your inner strength to expel the smoke poison. The Murong brothers, with clear eyes, twisted in front of a crooked tree, shouting, I won't expel it. I like this feeling. I want to be a hero. Saying that, he twisted his hips and charged towards the cellar, evidently going to find leopard pattern Aunt Shui to vent again. Duan Yun seriously suspected that this guy was doing it on purpose. The Murong brothers and Ning Qing had captured leopard pattern Aunt Shui and her daughter during lunch, so now they waited. They caused a scene, now just waiting for leopard pattern Aunt Shui's people to make a move. Just Yusher Town and Small Spring Town couldn't satisfy Duan Yun's appetite at all. This was a trial ground for the heroic land. The bigger the land, the better. Just like farming games, 1.5 acres of land is living, the bigger the fields, the more fun it is. To show the face of the Jade Pearl heroes, Big White and Little Gray stood tall on either side of the manor's main gate. Big White even put on a cape and wore a hat, standing there looking mighty and impressive. Currently, they were just a group of male and female heroes, not to mention compared to the Mo sect with deep heritage, even compared to Leopard Pattern Gang, which just lost its gang leader and his mother, they seemed fewer in number. But their momentum couldn't be lost. It must be said, with Big White and Little Gray standing there, they truly had a bit of a door god's aura. As the higher status couple, Duan Yun and Feng Linger still stayed in the back without showing themselves. According to Feng Linger, they needed to maintain the demeanor. The issues that the Murong brothers couple could resolve, let them resolve. Only at the last would they, the chief young hero and the red-face heroine couple, deal with things. So they found a room in the backyard, drank tea and played chess. Even though a major battle could break out at any moment, they were particularly leisurely. Because of the novelty of it all, Duan Yun even quite enjoyed this feeling of staying behind the scenes. To sum up, they were just playing chess. Playing chess with the Mo sect in Wangchun City. Whereas previously, when playing chess, he often fought alone on the board. Nowadays, the Jade Pearl heroes had taken shape. At least he didn't have to jump out first thing. Duan Yun enjoyed this time behind the scenes, while the Murong brothers also enjoyed their time in the spotlight. Everything was handled by him, decided by him, so he was practically the spokesperson for the Jade Pearl heroes. This family certainly can't do without me. The Jade Pearl heroes must respect me the most. Old Demon Duan can only provide backup. I, young hero Murong, have considered much more. However, despite the commotion, while feeling excited, the Murong brothers were also a bit nervous. Because as an old Riverside, he deeply understood what enormous entity they were facing. Even in the Murong family's most prosperous time, it couldn't be compared to the Mo sect. Yes, the Murong family's peak period involved just a handful of masters, basically just family and a few relatives, while the Mo sect was entirely different. The Murong brothers never thought they'd one day dare to face such a presence. Clearly wasn't reasonable, yet from 2.5 years ago, everything began to change. He not only avoided starving himself due to a few failed relationships, but instead found true love. During this time, he had done many things he wouldn't have dared to do before, like charging into the Ghost Manor to confront the sub-branch master, or sneaking into the Chongling sect to rescue the Chongling fairy alongside old Demon Duan. Even though they didn't love him, these were things he didn't dare imagine before. Just thinking about them would have gotten his father to scold him for not understanding the depths of the martial world. But he did it and did quite well. This was all because of one person, Duan Yun. He changed him and was going to change the martial world with him. Thinking about it, the Murong brothers seemed to walk from the disillusionment of 2.5 years ago to where they stood now, from darkness into dazzling brilliance. He felt that life, though sometimes bitter, difficult, and dull, seemed full of meaning thinking about this matter, especially in times like these when holding the spotlight. Without any hesitation, the Murong brothers once more blurted out and shouted, "I want to be a hero!" Incidentally, he gave Leopard Pattern Aunt Shui another hero mark. At first, Leopard Pattern Aunt Shui tried to struggle and resist, but now she no longer wanted to move, like a glamorous corpse, at the mercy of the Murong brothers. "Come and save me, otherwise let it be destroyed." Tired. This was the sentiment of Leopard Pattern Aunt Shui. She had descended from the snow mountain for so many years, yet never felt so constrained. Who would have thought she would fall into the hands of this old demon in her man's territory, in her own gang? It can only be said that the demons emerging in recent years truly disregarded the martial world's rules. The capture of the Leopard Pattern Gang's gang leader and his mother during her 60th birthday by the Green Blade Demon was considered quite an event around Wangchun City. It happened too suddenly. Many knew that Yushir Town once was the active ground for Old Demon Duan and his group of demons, where the Graveyard Demon Slaughter and the Moonlit Azure Dragon events took place as significant martial world incidents. But many people know that Old Demon Duan and Green Blade Demon have always left Mo sect well alone. Who could have imagined that Green Blade Demon under Old Demon Duan would suddenly cause trouble? This undeniably proved one thing. The group of maniacs led by Old Demon Duan is unpredictable and even dares to disregard Mo sect's reputation. Capturing someone at the birthday celebration for the 60-year-old mistress of Mo sect's second elder. According to the bloodthirsty storyteller, even her leopard skin pants were blown away by Green Blade Demon. Isn't this an outright slap in the face for Mo sect? Talking about this, many people couldn't help but secretly regret. Regret not being there in person. That scene where leopard print Aunt Shui's pants were blown apart. Missing it this time means you might never see it in your lifetime. It's just such a pity. Facing Old Demon Duan's subordinate causing trouble, the bloodthirsty storyteller certainly wouldn't miss the chance to fan the flames. In just one afternoon, the entire Wangchun City knew the woman and her mother connected to Mo sect's second elder had been captured and were likely viciously humiliated by Green Blade Demon. In other words, the entire city knew that Mo sect's second elder Li Mafei was given a huge green hat by Green Blade Demon, involving both mother and daughter. One could only say that the bloodthirsty storyteller is ruthless, equating Mo sect and Li Mafei to being roasted over the fire. If this face isn't saved, it'll be laughed at for a lifetime. For a time, martial world enthusiasts were all bursting with excitement. Because everyone knows Green Blade Demon is wicked and twisted, backed by an even more sinister Old Demon Duan who has toppled countless sects big and small in recent years. But is Mo sect easy to provoke? Though Mo sect in Wangchun City mainly associates with the Gu family, the Mo sect brotherhood runs deep and unfathomable. If Old Demon Duan and Green Blade Demon are the most renowned rising demons in the past 2 years, then Mo sect can be considered the cradle of demons, a 1,000-year legacy demon family. The Gu and Hua families were previously 2 of the 4 great demon sects. Yun State hasn't had any explosive martial world affairs for a while. The last thrilling incident was still related to Old Demon Duan's Green Dragon Moon Knight. One could only say such matters are truly exciting and crazy. Under the bloodthirsty storyteller's instigation, not just in Wangchun City, but in other areas, martial world enthusiasts have been tirelessly rushing to watch the show. For a moment, Yushir Town became lively again, suddenly overcrowded. Since the inns were already full, even sleeping on the street requires fighting for a spot. In the afternoon, 2 bloody battles broke out over a spot close to the latrine. Everyone is eagerly waiting for Mo sect's response. This green blade old, young, this green blade really went too far. What do you think Mo sect will do? These people chatting are perplexed in addressing names, fearing offense. Using respect for Brother Murong might offend Mo sect. Calling Murong Brothers Old Demon might offend Green Blade Demon and his Yuju mob. Therefore, after much dithering, they referred to Green Blade, creating a taboo around both Green Blade Demon and Green Saber Young Hero, afraid to mention the full names. Only the bloodthirsty storyteller dares to say anything. What do you think? Won't Mo sect wipe out the green blade line this time? When Mo sect acts, they are strikes of thunder. This Wangchun City area is Mo sect's territory, governed by Mo sect for generations, with many backing Mo sect. But Green Blade has Star Rage Woman and others behind him. They're not easy to deal with either. Green Blade represents Murong brothers, and now Duan Yun's name is replaced with such and such, even tougher to mention. So what if they're difficult? Ultimately, such and his Star Rage Woman are just a few people. Mo sect is the boss of Wangchun City. Even if the Emperor comes, he has to stand aside. Based on conversations from martial world enthusiasts on this street, at least 80% favor Mo sect. Yet, even supporters are cautious about speaking casually, knowing Old Demon Duan and Green Blade Demon are notoriously petty. If discovered, they may well deal with you after dealing with Mo sect. Overall, these onlookers will praise whoever wins. Everyone is waiting eagerly for Mo sect's move. By this twilight hour, there's still no sound. Someone couldn't help but ask, Mo sect won't make a move today, will they? How is that possible? Green Blade stirred trouble at noon, and this has spread over 800 miles. How can Mo sect not react? Unless Elderly likes wearing hats and lets Green Blade do this on purpose. After all, Green Blade is best at doing this. Your theory isn't impossible. Highly skilled people also play tricky. If this is true, why are we here? To become part of their trick. How can it be? Even if they like games, can they play this big? I guess Mo sect is building momentum, perhaps preparing to act at this very moment. How to act? Assassination? Certainly, assassinate Yuju's entire group. Mo sect isn't unfamiliar with these actions. This doesn't make sense. It's as if Green Blade and the such and such haven't annihilated enough clans. This is truly unpredictable. I'm currently most worried they won't fight. Many experts cherish life, and negotiation is highly possible. After all, Mo sect elder only lost a mistress and her mother and got a large lotus leaf hat. Is it worth risking lives? Otherwise, Mo sect's prestige is lost? Prestige versus risking life. Who can weigh that? At this time, discussions among onlookers are at their peak. Many talk about how Mo sect might eliminate the enemy to regain face, while others worry whether Green Blade might flee, and some fear there might be no fight. In conclusion, the spectators are more anxious than Green Blade himself, appearing desperate and restless. Suddenly, someone exclaimed, Mo sect's third elder is coming over with people. Really? Mo sect is moving. How many people brought? Are they going to annihilate them directly? As this rumor spread, martial world enthusiasts in Yushur town became excited and enthusiastic. They finally witnessed a new development. Who knows? Today might end with rivers of blood. Mo sect's third elder Gu Tian sat in a sedan carried by 4 gorgeous ladies, followed by more than 100 Mo sect elites. Using beauties to carry the sedan is a trendy fashion recently spread from Qingzhou, which Elder Gu likes to follow. Gu Tian sat there without beauties attending, just because he wasn't in a good mood. Green Blade Demon did a good deed, which should typically not involve him, as it troubles the second elder Li Mafei's woman. But Brother Li happened to be unable to leave his retreat at a critical time. He knows, once Brother Li exits, all will be stable. He could be Mo sect's first to achieve the Mo Ro Flying Thunder God in hundreds of years. With Mo Ro Flying Thunder God, dealing with Green Blade Demon is easy, along with Old Demon Duan. What he needs to do now is negotiate, return Leopard Print and Shui, and once Brother Li exits in a few days, wipe out the enemy. This matter isn't too difficult to handle. They opted to endure, making it likely the opposition wouldn't pursue a fight. Gu Tian also roughly guessed why Green Blade acted suddenly. He's sure there must be some demands. Temporarily fulfilling a few days of demands is manageable. Yet who would have thought such a matter could spread over 1,000 miles, and maybe in 2 days, people from other states will rush to watch the spectacle. Only cursed and ridiculous bloodthirsty storytellers are becoming more absurd, worse than dogs scrambling for bones. Indeed, Enduring won't spare Mo sect from disdain. But what else can he do? Start negotiating. Exterminate these troublemakers. Delay just a few days. At this point, Yuju Manor was in sight. And behind Mo sect's procession, countless spectators attracted by the news followed. Some smart ones were already running uphill, securing advantageous spots. Elder Gu Tian's formation was not small. Just the 100 elite carrying Mo sect's secret weapons could easily handle an army of thousands. Inside Yuju Manor, how many people could there be? Thinking of this, Gu Tian felt the pressure lift off. But just as he neared the main gate, the lifted pressure rose again. Because there was a panda standing at the entrance. A panda draped in a red cloak, wearing a bamboo hat. The mere aura was extraordinary. If the elite behind him equated to a sharp army, this panda seemed like a major skilled in charging battles. Does old demon Duan's creature possess such a presence? The chariot carried by the beautiful ladies for Elder Gu Tian of Mo sect came to a halt. It was because the path was blocked by a majestic-looking panda at the entrance. Whether by coincidence or not, the panda's cape fluttered at this moment, like a flowing flag, adding to its aura. Gu Tian had originally planned to make a grand entrance by riding the chariot inside, but who would have thought he'd be stopped by a panda? Of course, a panda couldn't truly stop them. Even if it was a panda raised by old demon Duan, no matter how formidable, it was still just a panda. Yet, without seeing the person, the Mo sect, ended up in a confrontation with a panda, inevitably losing face. Gu Tian coughed to signal his confidant to announce his arrival. The confidant reacted quickly, shouting loudly, "Elder Gu Tian of Mo sect seeks an audience." At this moment, a lazy voice came from inside. "Big White. Let them come in." Big White then made way. The path was opened with a certain flair, just wide enough for half the door, impossible to enter alongside the chariot. With Gu Tian's usual temperament, he would have ordered to ram through by now. It's just a panda. Even if he ran over 10 of them, who would dare say anything? Unfortunately, this was Yuju's demonic panda. This group was crazy enough to capture and humiliate even Li's concubine. If he dared to kill this panda, the other side might well return the favor on him. Ultimately, it should be Li taking the lead, not worth the risk for him. So Gu Tian had to swallow his temper, dismount from the chariot, and lead his men inside. As soon as he entered, he was stunned. Leaving aside the dilapidated state of this place, the person sitting before him made his chi blood surge. A man was lounging there. The man was ordinary looking, yet Gu Tian couldn't help but be drawn to him. He even found his eyes involuntarily fixed on the man's rather plump posterior. Gu Tian wasn't inclined that way, and encountering this situation suddenly, he couldn't help but be alarmed. What kind of alluring fox is this? This wasn't even the main reason for his chi blood rushing to his head. The main reason was his sister-in-law. Countless men had been bewitched by her, still charming, eventually claimed by Li as his own. Yet now her leopard print was gone, and she was kneeling humiliated in front of this young man. Even more humiliating was, the young man's legs pressed against her shoulders, pushing her head low. What kind of demon sitting posture is this? This woman of Li's was essentially his sister-in-law, nearly equivalent to their woman of Mo sect. This kind of humiliation to Mo sect's woman. How could he not be provoked? To think it was always them humiliating others' women before. "May I ask if you are Brother Murong?" Gu Tian suppressed his anger and spoke. Murong raised his head and said, "That would be me." Seeing his sister-in-law's state, Gu Tian couldn't help but say with irritation, "Isn't it a bit excessive to treat a woman this way, brother?" Murong pressed his legs down, further lowering Aunt Shue's body, making himself appear even more arrogant. "You're a man, kneel here, and it wouldn't be excessive," Murong said with a brazen face. Gu Tian clenched his teeth. Just how could a green blade demon be so brazen? Someone might think you were old demon Duan. Seeing Gu Tian's hatred well up, Murong's face suddenly softened, saying, "Brother, are you here to rescue someone? I actually didn't mean to trouble her. Everyone in the martial world knows that I, Green Saber young hero, have the softest spot for beautiful women. I merely left a little imprint of my seal on her. What kind of imprint? Gu Tian questioned. Morong lifted his legs from Aunt Shue's shoulders and ordered, "Show him." Aunt Shue turned her head, tears in her eyes, and said tremulously, "Mr. Gu." At this cry of Mr. Gu, Gu Tian's heart softened. He swore he had no thoughts for his sister-in-law unless she seduced him. At this moment, Aunt Shue had already started. Seeing this, Gu Tian couldn't help but be stirred further inside. His good sister-in-law, known as the snow leopard from the snow mountain, had a wild nature arguably fiercer than a true snow leopard, yet within half a day, she was tamed like a submissive dog. This green blade demon certainly had frightening methods, seeming to spare no effort in training her. Absolutely no courtesy. Then an even more blatant scene unfolded. By now, Aunt Shue had shed her clothing, revealing the skin on her back. He initially planned to take the chance to admire his sister-in-law's beautiful back under the guise of duty, but instead was met with 4 large bloody characters, "Heroic Spirit Resplendent." This was clearly inscribed with a sharp weapon, and crucially, the character for resplendent was initially inscribed incorrectly as chilling, then crossed out and corrected to resplendent, followed by a series of slightly smaller bloody characters, exclusive heroic imprint of young hero Morong, immediately trailed by overlapping handprints. These overlapping handprints made Gu Tian rub his eyes, mistakenly thinking he was seeing things. This was what Green Blade Demon did to his sister-in-law. In such a short time, he treated her like livestock, branding her with his exclusive mark. Absolutely no face was given to Mo sect. No matter how she was essentially his woman, essentially Mo sect's woman, and now she was treated like a person from Fusang. Gu Tian realized, by now outside the manor, many had gathered as spectators, likely including those big-mouthed, bloodthirsty storytellers. Now, not only was Li's figurative cap secured, an actual pile of shit was heaped upon it. At this moment, Aunt Shue in leopard print had started sobbing. This was the reason she transformed from a wild snow leopard into someone without any sharp edges. Everyone in this mountain villa was mad, especially that Green Blade Demon. Even a foolish pig would be destroyed by such treatment. What's more, she was human. Li Mafei's woman, no less. The sense of collapse was imaginable. At this moment, her already dead heart suddenly glimmered with hope. Yes, Mr. Gu had come to save her. He could definitely save her. The third elder, Gu Tian, already wore a grim expression. He sat directly across from Morong and said, "Young hero Morong, release her. Name your terms." In his view, it was nothing more than a demand for money or territory. The gang that did this to their sister-in-law clearly wanted this land and its profits. The Mo sect had long realized one thing. Money can make anything happen. Money is essentially power. Morong, seeing this, said, "What we want is simple. No more random murders inside or outside Wangchun City. Anyone committing wanton acts of murder, from your Mo sect leader to ordinary citizens, should face penalties or even execution. Furthermore, cease the sale of lethal opium, and shut down the gambling dens and brothels spreading disease." Upon hearing this, Gu Tian was dumbfounded and said, "That's impossible, not to mention prohibiting murder at random. And banning the sale of opium and closing gambling dens and brothels? Unthinkable. Not earning that glaring silver. How is that different from committing sins?" Then, seeing his sister-in-law in such dire condition, he softened and said, "Doing this with no gambling, no brothels, and no opium, there will be chaos. What's more, many women in brothels are addicted themselves. If you stop them from selling, how will they live?" "Is that so?" Morong replied, puzzled. Gu Tian's eyes lit up as he perceived Morong was listening to reason. "Of course, just the headliner. Miss Chingching from the brothel on Qinglu Street can't sleep without taking on 10 clients a day," Gu Tian hurriedly explained. Morong contemplated and said, "In that case, brothels can remain open, but all women must be personally examined by me, young hero, to ensure they're disease-free to continue working. As for the opium and gambling dens, they must all be shut down. But, Morong, face darkening, said, "No buts. Do you really need conditions for such simple demands? Are you looking down on me, young hero Morong?" Saying this, he genuinely seemed agitated, as if he's about to lash out and start slashing people. In fact, the agitation was half real, half fake. No one understood extreme pressure tactics better than young hero Morong. Gu Tian became tense, too. This was, after all, the old demon's lair. Old Demon Duan and the Star Rage female demons hadn't shown themselves yet, making the situation quite precarious. Even though he had brought many people today, strong enough to ensure his safe escape, it wasn't worth the risk. All would be well once Brother Li was out of seclusion. Thus, he reluctantly said, "Morong, none of these are minor matters. The Mo sect and Wangchun City are big, and I can't decide alone. How about this? 5 days, within 5 days, I'll give you an answer." Morong appeared displeased and said, "5 days? Do you think I, young hero, have the patience to wait 5 days? 2 days. Within 2 days, you should accomplish these tasks. If, after 2 days, I'm still dissatisfied, I will come in person, and then it won't be a discussion. At that time, I will use marks to show you the consequences," Morong said, with a threatening tone, his face gloomy. Duan Yun, secretly observing, saw that half of Morong's face was in shadow, making him look somewhat like a demon. "Also, you can't take her away. I need to carve more marks." Morong lifted his legs and pressed down on Aunt Shue's leopard print shoulders, adding, Upon hearing this, Aunt Shue cried out loud. Gu Tian's forehead wrinkles deepened, and he said, "Sister-in-law, I will definitely bring you out. Definitely." After saying this, he left with his men without looking back. In 2 days, Brother Li should be out of seclusion. By then, these mad people will learn what the wrath of the Mo sect means. They will learn who truly controls Wangchun City's territory. After the Mo sect people left, Morong rushed to the backyard and excitedly asked everyone, "How did I do just now? Was it imposing enough?" "No one understands imposing better than young hero," Feng Linger retorted. "Why did you decide not to close the brothels?" Morong said, "I'm thinking of the women. Didn't you hear, some girls are addicted? It's too rough, we should at least give them a buffer. I've already said I'll personally check their health, and only if they're healthy can they continue. What we're doing is preventing the spread of syphilis, isn't it? I'll make sure by checking." Duan Yun couldn't help but ask, "With so many women, can you really check them all?" Feng Linger added, "Exactly, can you check them all?" Morong, wearing a solemn expression, said, "For the health of the people, I'd go blind if needed to ensure the inspections are completed." Duan Yun and Feng Linger didn't want to argue any further, because the focus wasn't here. Feng Linger said, "Do you think the Mo sect will agree to such terms?" Duan Yun replied, "That depends on whether they understand an old saying." "What old saying?" the Morong brothers asked curiously. "A wise man submits to circumstances." Duan Yun looked at the Morong brothers and said, "If they dare to pretend to agree and then betray us, then we fight, until this land bears the name of chivalry, until complete victory." Upon hearing this, the Morong brothers suddenly felt that their previous arrogance paled in comparison. How does one casual phrase from old Demon Duan exude such domineering aura? Secretly comparing, they even felt their own display of arrogance earlier seemed a bit overdone. Could it be that old Demon Duan is also a genius in being dominant? Why add the word, also? Wangchun City, Mo sect's Black Tower. As the muscle-bound oxen at the bottom level pulled the mechanism, a pitch-black cage carried the third elder, Gu Tian, upwards. This cage had 2 hollow sections, through which the intricate patterns allowed a view of the outside scenery. The closer this cloud ladder got to the top, the farther he could see. Could be said that the entire Wangchun City lay beneath his gaze. This city would forever belong to the Mo sect. He suppressed the anger in his heart with difficulty. With the MO-Sec's strength, he shouldn't have felt so humiliated today, having to negotiate with lunatics. The key point was that even after bargaining, they gained no advantage. Thinking of the bloody words and marks on his sister-in-law's back made him feel humiliated. This humiliation surely wouldn't take long to spread everywhere. And all of this could only be washed away with blood. He would make those newly emerged evil demons understand the meaning of overestimating their abilities. With a clang, the cloud ladder touched the top, striking a copper bell, indicating they had reached the highest level of the Black Tower. Gu Tian walked inside, a somber expression on his face. Before him was a stone door, an incredibly thick stone door, through which intense sounds emanated. The second elder, Li Mafei, was in there in seclusion. This seclusion did not mean complete isolation. Brief communication was possible. Today, as he went to negotiate, Brother Li briefly instructed him to bring his sister-in-law back. Unfortunately, he hadn't succeeded. The person inside had already sensed his presence, and the intense roaring noise ceased. "Did you bring her back?" Li Mafei's voice came from within, carrying a certain terrifying animalistic quality. "No," Gu Tian replied. "What happened?" That madman was impervious to reason and even made outrageous demands, doing things on my sister-in-law's body. Li Mafei's voice continued, "Go on. This won't affect me." So, Gu Tian recounted everything that had happened today, especially mentioning the bloody words carved on leopard print Aunt Shue's body and the unique mark of the green blade demon, his voice growing hoarse. The inside remained silent, a terrifying silence. Gu Tian even worried if Brother Li had died from anger. After all, hearing such things at a critical moment could be too much to handle. "Very well. They are doing wonderfully." Suddenly, Li Mafei's voice rang out, immediately followed by a dense thrumming noise, as if countless drums were simultaneously beaten, causing even the sturdy Black Tower to tremble, and the metal objects within to hum. Behind the heavy door stood a man with bloodshot eyes, his muscles trembling vigorously. As the trembling continued, the egg within his flesh was crazily shifting. In the next moment, as the movement reached its peak, his muscles swiftly transformed into strips, bursting forth. In an instant, the man seemed to have grown numerous flesh daggers, continuously piercing the walls, accompanied by terrifying sounds. "The weather has turned cold. Let Yuju and the multitude of demons vanish. Know to enter the demon cave. Come to demand someone back. A foot pressed beneath, like a demon, courting death. Flying thunder god. Have you heard? Have you heard? Green Saber has demanded that the Mo sect shut down the gambling dens and opium dens, and even the women from the brothels have to undergo his inspection. Only those who are disease-free can work." "What? He even wants to control the women in the brothels. Isn't he overstepping his bounds?" "Exactly. What fun is it if the brothel women are disease-free? I actually like them with a bit of illness, that's what I go for. Right? Otherwise, there's no difference from messing with decent married women. Don't even mention messing around." Green Saber also said that anyone daring to commit random acts of murder, from the MO sect leader down to ordinary civilians without martial skills, would face extreme punishment. What? At that moment, it felt like the sky was falling for many people. No gambling dens, no opium dens, disease-free brothel women, and even hurting civilians will face extreme punishment. Is this really living? I said a long time ago, they just love causing trouble. This time it's even more serious. They seem to want to create a new martial arts world. Damn it! What are we supposed to do? I've just mastered the cloud-squeezing palm. Does this mean I can only use it on my wife from now on? Yes, and also on disease-free prostitutes. I'm not okay with this. Don't say you're not okay with it. This change will bring devastation. This perfect land of drinking, gambling, whoring, killing, and looting might just be ruined. Such cruelty. Really heartless. Hearing this, many people couldn't care less about Green Saber Demon's pettiness anymore. They couldn't bear to see this beautiful pure land of the martial world be defiled, where drinking, gambling, whoring, killing, and looting wouldn't be free anymore. What they want is freedom. With Green Saber doing this, who will protect the interests of the MO sect? Indeed, by doing this, he's cutting off the MO sect's financial roots. Isn't the MO sect executing him on the spot? Execute what? The MO sect elder didn't even bring back Aunt Shui in leopard print or her mother. It's said that Aunt Shui's back is full of Green Saber's special marks. It's tragic. They can endure this? This is called expediency. If you ask me, something big is coming. No matter how crazy and strong they are, can they really compete against the MO sect? Right? This territory, after all, belongs to the MO name. Resolutely safeguard the interests of the MO sect. Because if Green Saber Demon's ideas come true, then drinking, gambling, whoring, killing, and looting would be no more, and for this group, Wangchun City would be ruined. For the sake of martial world justice and purity, suddenly, there were more Jianghu guests supporting the MO sect. In their hearts, they wanted to maintain the pure land of the martial world together with the MO sect, even if some people just sold a kidney to the MO sect due to gambling and drug use. Some people around didn't speak. They remained silent. They were not Jianghu guests but ordinary people without martial skills. They always felt that the words of the people in the martial world were reasonable. After all, they could train in martial arts, but they could not themselves. But this time, some people felt what Green Saber Demon said was quite right. But they didn't dare to speak out. Because they were always the targets of exploitation and abuse, their voices were light, to say the least, and if they angered the Jianghu guests, they might end up stripped on the spot. Outside the city gates, it might be their heads that fall. The next moment, the discussion among martial world people dashed their hopes. What do you mean no killing? I think Old Demon Duan and Green Saber Demon just want to commit those acts by themselves in Wangchun City. Just the two of them doing all that? Isn't it rumored that the Green Saber has 7? Even the Dharma image has 1. I could see it long ago. This Old Demon Duan and Green Saber Demon are madmen. They just want to screw the entire martial world. Then the MO sect will surely win. Victory! Under the guidance of the fanatical MO sect worshippers and the embellishments of the bloodthirsty storyteller. For a while, the whole city was filled with shouts of, "The MO sect will surely win," and "We're behind you." They wanted to let the demons at Yuzhu Manor know what true public opinion is. News of the public opinion inside and outside Wangchun City quickly reached Yuzhu Manor. The Morong brothers exclaimed in surprise, "We are clearly saving them from disaster. Why are they supporting the MO sect?" Duan Yun sat there, slowly sipping tea, and said, "This has always been MO sect territory. It's normal for some to speak for them. But this time, as long as you win, there will be plenty speaking for you as well. It's not yet the heroic land after all." The Morong brothers' eyes sparkled, and they said, "That will soon change." Since coming forward to manage matters, the Morong brothers had been inspired with heroism. Their blood boiled, and they even felt a bit arrogant. Yes, they marked Aunt Shui in leopard print and her mother like that, yet that MO sect elder had to respectfully retreat, even fearing them a little. Young hero Morong's dominance was thus. He only realized it not long ago. In just 2.5 years, his weight in the martial world had grown significantly. Before, he wouldn't have dared to provoke the MO sect elder. It was nighttime now. The night was starless and moonless. Thick clouds pressed against the sky. Accompanied by strong winds, the bamboo forest on the graveyard swayed, emitting sounds like wails. However, the Morong brothers were brimming with confidence, ordering the only subordinate who understood his commands, "Prepare well for the coming storm." Panda Dabai heard the command and responded with a bark. Feng Linger couldn't help but tease. He's really getting full of himself. After all, the Morong brothers, as the leading sheep now, could only command Panda Dabai, mainly because Little Gray didn't quite understand him, and as a rare worldly man among men, he couldn't really boss around Ningqing. But it still gave him a taste of commanding others. At night, the Morong brothers lay down on a mat and fell asleep. He slept sweetly, unusually sweet, because he was having a beautiful dream. In the dream, the entire Wangchun City was under his domineering power. Heroic power. The MO sect knelt in submission, and there were young maidens in Mo sect attire who flirted with him, ready to serve him well. Murong, the young hero, naturally accepted this sort of low taste. Even a young hero needs to enjoy. Moreover, in dreams, one's will is naturally weaker than when awake. That wasn't enough. Murong, the young hero, was also quite busy in his dream, needing to examine the bodies of beautiful brothel girls one by one. One on the left, another on the right. His eyes were dazzled. The patrolling panda Dabai occasionally glanced into Murong's room, since Murong's eerie laughter kept resonating from within. No wonder, the dream was just too delightful for Murong, the young hero. Hey. Panda Dabai, after witnessing Murong laughing in his sleep 3 times, didn't want to bother him, and with panda eyes walked toward the gates of the mountain villa. Dabai was quite pleased with the present situation. Compared to simply being a mount, Dabai aspired to practice martial arts and become a hero. This guardian role clearly suited Dabai much better than being a mere mount. The last time Dabai had a chance to hit someone was a while ago, so acting as a guard now meant indulging a bit. Thus, Panda Dabai took its patrol duties very seriously. Normally showing laziness, now its panda eyes were keenly observing in all directions, ears attentive to all sounds. But tonight, the sky was dark, the wind strong, and the wind howled everywhere. The graveyard was pitch black, making it challenging to hear or see anything. It was then that Dabai suddenly stood firm against the wind. If one had looked closely, they would find its posture quite similar to Duan Yun, carrying a certain composed aura. And what Dabai learned wasn't just the appearance. It was because, at that moment, Dabai had a sudden epiphany. This epiphany had a kind of animal version of extraordinary wisdom. Dabai noticed the movement of the wind. As the wind fluttered its red cape, Dabai raised its paw. The strong wind brought fallen leaves from the graveyard's bamboo forest, and to Dabai's perception, they resembled flowing water. In the next moment, it suddenly began to throw punches in the wind. If the wind were like water, then Dabai would feel as if it were punching underwater. It even recalled scenes of playing in the water. Being a panda, Dabai truly loved water play. Initially, its fists followed the wind rather chaotically, but as it went on, it became more systematic, even carrying a touch of soft strength. In the dark courtyard, its sandbag-sized fists swung, the nearby fallen leaves moving in tandem. In the next moment, Dabai's fists suddenly crossed each other, spinning around. The wind-driven leaves spun around as well, forming a vortex. The fallen leaves marked traces of the wind, and Dabai's perception followed the wind upstream. Suddenly, it looked toward a spot on the graveyard. There was something there. Just as Dabai wanted to approach and take a closer look, a sudden flash of fire appeared in that direction. Dabai sensed danger and barked loudly, "Woof, woof, woof!" The sound was loud and quickly awakened Duan Yun and the others. Murong was the last to awake, as his dream was extraordinarily pleasant. In the dream, he was surrounded by coquettish Mo sect girls, their sweet voices and charming gestures overwhelming him. As he awakened, he immediately heard a whistling sound. The sound seemed as though a round object was breaking through the air, carrying an indescribable danger. With his instinct as an expert, he sensed the danger and tried to reach for his sword. But in the next moment, all he heard was a deafening explosion. The wall burst apart, flames surged, and his body felt a scorching aura penetrate as he was blown into the air. Boom! 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 A barrage of thundershock pills flew down from the graveyard and fell into Yuju Mountain Villa. The villa's buildings were blasted to pieces, flames rising instantly. The commotion was immense, and the Jianghu people, who had been nestled in Yusher town watching a play, were now alarmed. They rushed out of town like zombies, looking toward Yuju Mountain Villa. There, thundershock pills were still falling, producing thunderous sounds and generating terrifying flames. Recognizers exclaimed, "It's the Mo sect's thundershock cannon." Who said the Mo sect is timid? The Mo sect is going to annihilate the old demon sect. The Mo sect is invincible. In the daylight, supporters of the Mo sect, who had been smoldering with rage, erupted explosively. Who could have anticipated such a swift and terrifying retaliation from the Mo sect? They had admitted defeat only at dusk, but within a few hours came this frightening killer move. In darkness, the flames soared within Yuju Mountain Villa, as though about to devour everything inside. Yet no one noticed that two figures were swiftly dashing through the graveyard. Duan Yun rode upon Dabai, racing towards the source of the launched Thundershock pills. For Thundershock cannons, black and imposing, stood there, operated by 18 body refining strongmen. Each time they pulled, the 18 strongmen's faces dimmed slightly, due to the Thundershock pills also disturbing their chi blood. Doing this once meant they would need half a year to recover before continuing. Who could have imagined that Li Maofei, one of the Mo sect's senior elders, would complete his divine skill and exit seclusion ahead of schedule? The first thing upon exiting was to baptize Yuju Manor's demons with the Thundershock cannon. Bear in mind that these Thundershock cannons were generally used for siege warfare. Previously, when the Mo sect wanted to claim territories, sects often built high walls or hid inside solid stone fortresses to wait for favorable opportunities. But then the Mo sect developed the Thundershock cannon, causing these defenses to fail before even engaging in battle. The Thundershock cannon and Thundershock pills were costly to produce, and this bombardment was painful for the Mo sect too. This is something Elder Li Maofei insisted on doing, probably costing him 2 years of hard effort in vain. But who could blame Elder Li for being a romantic? He couldn't bear the humiliation his lover endured, so he ignored the financial losses to blow up this group of demons. Yes, even if his beloved leopard print Aunt Shui was among them, he still ordered the cannon with a heavy heart. He wanted Green Blade Demon and Old Demon Duan to be buried alongside his love. Shui, there's nothing I can do. I'm a Mo sect elder. After your disgrace, you're no longer a match for me. If he could succeed in blowing up leopard print Aunt Shui this time, then he would cut ties with the cuckold rumors circulating in the martial world. So, no matter what, fire the cannon for me. By now, the Thundershock cannon has consumed more than half of Elder Li's budget, and Yuju Manor has turned into a sea of fire. The leader didn't stop to rest at all, continuing to order, "Keep firing, blast and then leave." However, just as the words left his mouth, the 18 men were all startled. This was because they suddenly heard a dog's bark. As Mo sect specialists in body cultivation, their courage was as solid as their muscles. Not even a tiger's roar could scare them, let alone a dog's bark. But at this moment, they were indeed frightened. This was because the dog's bark was so powerful, it gave off the impression of being an ancient beast. Immediately following that, a giant figure emerged from the black bamboo. Panda Dabai charged out suddenly, biting the shoulder of one burly man and tossing him, causing the man to be flung into the air. He barely had time to react before Dabai's fist had already struck his stomach. This fist was already as large as a sand pot, and it carried a terrifying power, even stirring the surrounding wind into a wind column, rolling up the fallen leaves on the ground. The burly man had only been hit with one punch, but the fist power seemed to layer upon itself such that when he landed, he spewed a mouthful of blood and couldn't get up again. His intestines had been shattered by the fist power. The remaining burly men snapped back to their senses and were about to launch the Mo sect's 18 moves for a group attack. But soon, they too fell to the ground, unable to rise again. This was because, at that moment, a sword light flashed. That sword light was like a lightning flash, striking one of the burly men and then crazily ricocheting among them, causing the 18 men to fall quickly. Duan Yun grabbed the leader, saying, "Trying to play tricks, huh?" The burly man's face was filled with panic. "We were just following orders, and we have a message from Elder Li." "What message?" He said after the blast, "We have to leave this behind." With that, the burly man pulled out a slip of paper. On it was a line of words, "If the stupid demon is lucky enough to survive, I'll be waiting for you atop the Black Tower." Duan Yun pocketed the paper, looked at the Thundershock cannon still smoking from the mouth of the cave, and said, "Italian cannon, is it? Blowing up my house worth more than a mountain of gold? Is it?" Fire the cannon and then leave a message, is it? Dubai. Push over the Italian cannon. Dubai quickly pushed over a thundershock cannon. Crack, 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 crack. A series of terrifying sounds of bones and flesh breaking resounded. And soon, the fallen burly men witnessed a horrifying scene. Their leader was nearly folded into a meatball and shoved in front of the cannon's muzzle. Fire the cannon! Duan Yun pulled with bare hands, launching the burly man together with the thundershock pill. Then the second, third. The Jianghu guests supporting the Mo sect had been cheering at the fiery sea of Yuzhu Manor, when suddenly, the sound of thundershock was heard again. They thought another thundershock pill was about to fall and couldn't help but cheer more wildly. But this time, they didn't see the flames intensifying, and the sharp-eyed suddenly shouted, "Is the direction wrong?" They saw those balls flying toward them and then bursting in the air. Bang, 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 bang. The burly men exploded into fireworks in the air, and by the time they fell, they had been shattered into pieces. A boiling rain of flesh and blood fell, with ears, noses, fingers all burning hot, instantly causing those people to scream. Is Mo sect's counterattack quick, or is Old Demon's counterattack faster? Of the 18 warriors, only one wasn't made to explode like a cannonball in the sky. Duan Yun threw the paper at the opponent and said, "Tell your elders to wait patiently and wash their asses thoroughly like their women." His leopard-printed woman had her ass washed clean long ago. Faced with the demon-like Old Demon, this man, known to be as strong as iron, wet himself as he stumbled down the mountain. But in the next moment he turned back in panic. This was because the Old Demon said, "Pick up your ear." His ear had just been cut off by sword chi and fell to the ground. Fear made him realize only now that he was missing an ear. The big man quickly knelt, picked up the ear, and then dared to flee in panic. As he ran down the mountain, his whole body seemed limp and weak. To know, the 18 warriors were called 18 tough guys, not just because they were known for lasting long in battles, but because they had hearts as hard as iron. As the gunners of the thunder shock cannon, the number of people who died at their hands was not fewer than 1,000 or perhaps 800. All 18 brothers liked to see others blown to pieces, preferably not killed instantly, but rather with broken limbs, rolling around engulfed in flames. It was truly pleasing to the eye. Regardless of whether it was women or children, this spectacle was always pleasing to the eye. But at this moment, the surviving tough guy couldn't be tough anymore. Frightened. Yes, he couldn't be tough anymore. Thinking about it, the tough guy couldn't help but glance down at his crotch, finding that he truly couldn't be tough anymore. Because only now did he realize that not only his ear had been cut off, but also his manhood. When did that happen? How come I didn't know? The big man said, numb-faced. Until now, the big man turned back and could no longer see the terrifying figure of a man and a bear. Yet the terrifying feeling continued to linger around him like a leech in the bone. Though they had blown countless people to death and enjoyed watching people die miserably, upon careful thought, no one could be more miserable than his dead brothers. Just the process of breaking people apart and kneading them into meatballs was truly horrifying. He was so scared at that time, he didn't even know if his bird was still there. Only that brothers were kneaded into meatballs, launched into the sky, and turned into fragments. Is there anyone more devilish than this? All along, the 18 brothers thought the high-ups in the Mo sect were quite frightening. For instance, elderly Mafe, who sent them to blow up the manor, already had a sharp head, and after emerging from seclusion this time, he seemed entirely sharp. But at this moment, the surviving weak man found the one man and one bear even more terrifying. Already tattered, Yuzhu Manor, after being ravaged by the thunder shock cannon, could be said to be completely destroyed. However, because Big White gave a timely warning, coupled with the group of heroes' unfamiliar artistry, except for the Murong brothers, whose butts were blown wounded from delayed reactions in their dreams, everyone was fine. The group looked at the burning manor with grave expressions. The atmosphere was somber and heroic. This is the price to face a sect like the Mo sect. Even their homes got blown up. Though this manor was already in tatters, it had always been their haven. Yet at this moment, the Murong brothers, whose butts were blown red and visible through the pants, suddenly burst into laughter, as if they had lost their minds. Balanced the score. Balanced the score. This shabby manor should have been torn down long ago. This time we can have the MO sect pay silver to rebuild it. Ha 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 ha. Upon hearing this logic, the group couldn't help but get happy. Yes, yes, I'm missing a walk-in closet, Fong Linger cheerfully said. Then I need a study, Ziyu pondered. Build another outhouse, the Murong brothers strongly suggested. Recently he liked to take dumps. Little Ian, just blown with a blackened face, timidly asked, "Can I have a room?" These days she had been sleeping outside with Big White and Little Gray. Duan Yun boldly said, "Everyone can. Everyone can. Once it gets daylight, we'll double what we ask back." On the other side of the graveyard, second sister and third sister lay there. Third sister asked, "This demon cave being attacked might be just the time for us to act. How's big sister?" Second sister showed a puzzled look and said, "Big sister said she wants to split a room." Split a room? Big sister wants to split a room. Third sister also showed puzzlement. Due to the round of thunder bomb strikes, as well as the human cannonball spectacle, Yusher Town, already full of Jianghu guests, suddenly became lively. Additionally, many people got burned by the human fireworks, with many shouting in pain. The situation changed too quickly. Most of these people were supporters of the MO sect, originally thinking that once the thunder shock cannon launched, even if Yuju's group of demons didn't die, they should suffer heavy casualties. Little did they know, after a short while, something terrifying happened. Not only did the thunder shock cannon stop attacking the demon cave, it even changed direction, no longer firing thunder shock pills, but people like balls. People exploded alongside the thunder shock pills, making them cry out in pain. Until someone picked up a MO sect ring from the rain of blood and flesh, did people realize that it wasn't that the thunder shock cannon misfired, nor did the MO sect suddenly have a stroke of genius to canonize people. It was Old Demon. The MO sect's thunder assault was swift and fierce, and Old Demon's retaliation was extraordinarily quick as well. What exploded in the sky were the MO sect warriors who operated the cannon. For a moment, this group of MO sect supporters only felt the burns on them sting even more. Old Demon wasn't dead. Not only that, but he also counter-killed. Maintaining peace and justice, preserving Jianghu order, is everyone's responsibility. We want to gamble. We want to visit brothels. Not a single vice should be left out. MO sect is the sky. Missouri sect is the earth. MO sect is the protector of the martial world. MO sect will surely win. Last night, Yuju Manor was destroyed by the thunder shock cannon from MO sect. It was meant to boost morale, but alas, Old Demon was too ruthless, treating the cannon operator as a thunder shock pill, so it was basically a draw. To crush the spirits of the evil demon and fully demonstrate the will of the people in Wangchun City, under the guise of ordinary people led by the disciples of MO sect, such demonstrations were launched inside and outside of Wangchun City. Among them, the bloodthirsty storyteller worked hard to spice things up, elevating the demonstration to another level. Yet such will of the people couldn't stop the steps of the Jade Pearl heroes. Early in the morning, MO sect spies urgently reported. The Jade Pearl heroes went to Yusher Town and had breakfast there. The group ate 12 drawers of buns and 10 bowls of oil tea. It is said that the Green Blade Demon also alternated between sweet tofu pudding and salty tofu pudding. Even among the deviant, this was considered perverse. After finishing the meal, Duan Yun and his group, accompanied by a panda and a gray donkey, headed for Wangchun City. Because there were many onlookers, the news spread quickly. In no time, the disciples of MO sect inside and outside Wangchun City were on high alert. All accounted for, excluding Shining, who was still lying in a coffin, they were merely 6 people, a panda, and a donkey compared to the 800 disciples of MO sect in Wangchun City, which seemed way too few. Yet the momentum of the Jade Pearl heroes as they emerged felt as if they were the 800, even 8,000. Especially Brother Murong, who was still up front, stood tall and proud, radiating heroic spirit. Mainly because Ning Qing was nearby, and Duan Yun was behind. With Duan Yun there, nothing would fall apart. But all said and done, Brother Morong still felt quite nervous, because he was well aware of the formidable force he was going to face. But when he thought of settling the scores, and envisaged that Yuju Manor would be rebuilt, and he would personally inspect the health of the brothel girls, Brother Morong was instantly filled with heroic spirit. Even if there were thousands upon thousands, he would press forward. At this hour, Wangchun City hadn't opened its gates yet. According to MO6 rules, the gates could only be opened at the hour of dawn. But by then, Duan Yun and his group had already reached the city gate. Brother Morong looked at the tightly shut gates and shouted, "Open the gates! The young hero comes to settle the scores." The disciples of Mo sect kept the gates shut firmly, with no intention of opening them. This was the rule as well as orders from above. With Duan Yun's skill, scaling the walls would be easy, and Mo sect simply didn't want them to use the main entrance. All in all, it was meant to deflate this group's majestic spirit. The Jianghu guests watching this scene were already anxious, looking around. With the skills of the Jade Pearl heroes, excluding the donkey and the fat panda, scaling the wall would be easy, but they couldn't manage it. If they couldn't enter the city, wouldn't they miss out on the spectacle? That would be more unbearable than death. It's known that among these Jianghu guests watching, many had rushed over from hundreds of miles away overnight without closing their eyes, just to watch this grand show. With the gates tightly shut, Brother Morong couldn't help but draw his blood shadow mad blade from its sheath. Open the gates. Settle the scores. Last warning. Brother Morong strode forward, the blood shadow mad blade in hand dragging out bloody shadows. The people inside still did not open the gate. You refuse when given face. Sixfold spring rain. As he spoke, Brother Morong suddenly struck. He drew two blades in one move. The rotating spring rain blade energy spun and attacked the thick city gate. When the blade energy passes, it felt like spring breeze and drizzle, or like ripples stirred on a calm lake, not seeming fierce at all. But at the moment the blade energy hit the gate, two booms resounded, as if summer thunder clapped on iron stone. The thick city gate was instantly sliced through and shattered. The Mo sect disciples behind the gate listening to the noise turned into hedgehogs by the shards, screaming in misery. Brother Morong carried his blood shadow mad blade, kicked away the remnants wedged in the gate's crack, and headed inside directly. Duan Yun and his group followed closely, because the two blade blows that broke the gate were truly fierce. Initially inside the city there were quite a few Jianghu guests chanting slogans, but now frightened into retreating. Even the slogan chants turned to laughter. From the moment they entered through the gate, a vacuum zone formed around Duan Yun's group. By then, someone hollered, prompting the Jianghu guests outside who had been startled to hurry into the city, fearing they might miss the spectacle. The city gate had been hacked to pieces, and the disciples of the Mo sect were either dead or wounded, yet this group of martial world guests was unusually obedient. After entering the city gate, they even voluntarily threw copper coins into the box. There's no choice. This is the rule of the Mo sect, and they dare not flee. Furthermore, they're so used to paying when entering the city that not paying feels strange. Wangchun City, the Mo sect's Black Tower stands there like a giant. No matter when you look at it, the tallest building in the city always gives you a sense of oppression, as if a gigantic divine spirit is overlooking you. This is the feeling nearly everyone has when they see the Black Tower. Even the Morong brothers are no exception. The Mo sect has ruled the city for so many years, and in the eyes of most people, it's not much different from a real divine spirit. And what they intend to do today is slaughter the gods. If gods stand in the way, they will kill gods. If Buddha stands in the way, they will kill Buddha. The air is filled with a sweet aroma, a unique fragrance of the Mo sect that can make people excited, stir their desires. This is also why here in the brothels people play until they can't get up, gamblers lose everything, and opium smokers often die in opium dens. The Morong brothers took 2 deep breaths and suddenly shouted, "I want to be a hero! Settle scores! Settle scores! Settle scores!" The more they spoke, the more excited they became, with the blood shadow mad blade in their hands trembling. Duan Yun had already realized, This guy was planning something. Accumulating sword intent. The Murong brothers' sword technique had improved. They passed through the long street, and the people on the street had long retreated, leaving almost no one else. Yet, on the floor above and on the rooftops there were already packed spectators from the martial world. On the rooftops, a few stall holders wearing yellow hats had bamboo baskets full of melon seeds and peanuts hung around their necks, sprinting nimbly while shouting, "Melon seeds and peanuts, a must-have for watching battles. 5 silver for 1 serving, no deceit for anyone." Each serving of melon seeds and peanuts sold for 5 silver, making it extraordinarily expensive, yet there were many buyers. Such an event wouldn't be complete without some melon seeds and peanuts. Otherwise, it'd be watching for nothing. In the midst of this, Duan Yun saw some familiar faces. 4 red house girls floated in the air like balloons with threads attached, watching them. However, because they could fly higher and see farther, they were farther away from Duan Yun and the others. These red house girls seemed to have considered that old demon Duan's finger strength and sword chi were formidable, too close and they might be directly struck down. As enemies of the Red House, these Red House fairies had heard the news and naturally came to see the situation. Yes, outside the city, there were 32 Red House elder sisters secretly hidden, led by 2 elders, to see if they could be the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Could be said that Wangchun City was even more lively than the last time. Last time, there were many Red House fairies floating in the city, along with thunder listeners with iron pipes on their heads. They came for Old Demon Duan then, and this time Old Demon Duan and his group were targeting the Mo sect. The Murong brothers walked at the front of the team, feeling incredibly heroic. Indeed, the Jade Pearl heroes were led by him. After passing the long street, the road suddenly widened, even enough for 8 carriages to travel side by side with ease. Only the Mo sect could build such a wide road in Wangchun City, where every inch is worth gold. This road led directly to the Mo sect's Black Tower. The Jade Pearl heroes had arrived under the watchful eyes of everyone, yet the Black Tower remained quiet, as if nothing had happened. Just when they were only about 50 steps away from the Black Tower, windows on the 6th floor of the Black Tower suddenly extended with large crossbows. The arrows on the large crossbows were as thick as an arm, and their tips were even blazing with fire. Mind you, controlling these large crossbows is no easy task, yet within a few breaths' time the crossbow arrows were aimed right at them. It was clear that the Mo sect had been waiting for them here. At the top of the tower, 2nd Elder Li Mafei and 3rd Elder Gu Tian quietly watched everything, their gaze deep. They say this group of evil demons is truly mad, mad to the core. Who can defeat the Mo sect before the Black Tower? This provocation indeed brought them here. Fire! Almost simultaneously, the Black Tower shook, and arm-thick crossbow arrows tore through the air, whistling towards the Murong brothers and their group. In an instant, the sky darkened, and even the air tightened. Clown! The frontmost Murong brother showed no fear. Wielding the blood shadow mad blade, he charged forward instead of retreating. The crossbow bolts on the Black Tower were as black as they were thick, shooting down with fierce and intense power. Brother Murong, however, was completely unafraid, their blood shadow mad blade shifting into a blurred image in their hands. Spring equinox. Jingzhe. Silk rain. Faced with the terrifying crossbow bolts, Brother Murong executed the starting moves of the 12 layers of spring rain. In the eyes of the onlookers, they saw the sword light suddenly appear like the sudden arrival of the spring equinox, slicing the first oncoming crossbow bolt in half. The blade precision cut the incoming bolt down the middle, and the split crossbow bolt whistled to the side, piercing a nearby wall and a column. Immediately afterward came a wide and open Jingzhe, carrying a rippling blade wind that deflected the bolts. Boom! 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 Several terrifying explosions sounded, as the deflected bolts pierced into the ground, causing the stone-paved road to be punctuated with black holes. The exploding fragments of the bolts were equally dangerously lethal, transforming the walls along the way into a pockmarked surface. At this time, Brother Murong's blade wind shifted again, now like a lingering spring rain, dissolving these fragments. Duan Yun kicked out with flirtatious toe strength, allowing the crossbow bolts to quiver in the air as he kicked them aside, while his gaze remained on Brother Morong, who was taking the lead. This was because more crossbow bolts were on the way. Now was the real test for Brother Morong, because the starting moves of the 12 layers of Spring Rain only had these 3 forms before the rotation started. Just when Duan Yun thought Brother Morong would switch up their moves, Brother Morong's body suddenly thrust forward, shouting, "Summer rain! Winter snow! Hailstorm!" Indeed, with fighting spirit at its peak, Brother Morong unexpectedly had a stroke of genius and began creating a sword technique. He wasn't Duan Yun, unable to enhance Spring Rain blade power in all sorts of outrageous ways, but starting sword techniques like these were no problem for him. After all, he was the foremost among the Jade Pearl heroes, a once-in-a-thousand-years prodigy in the sword Dao. In an instant, the blood shadow mad blade created a flurry of blade shadows. The sword light, like blood, appeared to those watching as though green blade old demon was amidst a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood, the redness hurting their eyes. But if you looked closely at his movements, you would see that as he dodged the crossbow bolt bombardment, his back end wiggled back and forth, and with the swirling of his blade, it seemed he was performing a dance. With Brother Morong leading, his sword swung with gusto, and his behind wriggled enthusiastically. Yet these Mo sect big crossbows were truly extraordinary. Even if the crossbow bolts didn't hit them, the scattering fragments still had significant lethality. The crucial issue was that the Mo sect's big crossbows fired without pause, seemingly endless. The people outside couldn't see inside the Black Tower, where oxen and donkey teams were madly operating the mechanisms. And the mechanism mouths continually spat out scorching crossbow bolts, even loading the crossbows automatically. This was all money. Every crossbow bolt was worth dozens of pieces of silver. Now, as the bolts roared continuously in shooting, it was as if money was being thrown away. Money can reach the divine. Wealth is power. The Mo sect intended to bombard these adventurers to death with money. Rumble! Rumble! More crossbow bolts were shooting faster, some of the big crossbows turning red and emitting smoke from the heat. At this time, Ning Qing also joined the fray. With the activation of her dream emission skills, the hand technique of Mingyu Palace unfolded. This hand technique was like rolling waves, one higher than the last, assisting Brother Morong in scattering the bolts. Brother Morong raised his head and said, "It's about time. Come on. My wings." Hearing Brother Morong's words, Ning Qing, slightly annoyed, palm struck a bolt flying away, coming to stand behind Brother Morong, placing a palm on his back. In fact, this was just a very common power transfer, as Mingyu Palace's hand technique providing assistance was always easy. But Brother Morong just wanted to emulate Old Demon Duan. What Old Demon Duan could do, he wanted to do. What Old Demon Duan had, he wanted to have too. Though he had only Ning Qing, it was still a wing. Don't underestimate a bean bun as if it were just plain dry food. Confronted with Brother Morong's clumsy imitation behavior, Duan Yun and Feng Linger shook their heads in sighs. Feng Linger couldn't help but scoff. With his clumsy act, he's putting on wings now. As Ning Qing's power suddenly entered Brother Morong's body, Brother Morong felt the strength. This is love, the power of pure love. A night listening to spring rain. The blood shadow mad blade drew across horizontally in front of him, sweeping sideways. The blood-colored blade emitted a pristine white glow. Blade light as the moon. Blade light as the moon initially wasn't very noticeable, even slightly dim, like moonlight obscured by clouds. But as it broke through the air, meeting the first crossbow bolt, that massive and powerful crossbow bolt was instantly cut, shattered into pieces. Following that, the blade light not only remained undimmed, but suddenly brightened considerably, even issuing a clear, bright whistle. A single blade light flew through the air, becoming ever brighter and brighter. Initially, it was like a crescent moon, yet by the time it reached the 6th floor of the Black Tower, it shone like a full moon. Crescent moon saber. With a resounding boom, the crescent moon-like blade light effortlessly tore through the Black Tower's solid bricks, instantly shredding the crossbow bolts within the 6 layers. Half the archers didn't dodge in time, instantly sliced into halves, their spraying blood painting the Black Tower a deep red. The watching Jianghu people couldn't help but exclaim, "Is this the green saber? Truly powerful. Being cut by such a blade, it's probably enjoyable even in death. Honestly, it's so thrilling I almost wet myself." As he spoke, that person really trembled with thrill, unbuckling and relieving himself. Green saber young hero, truly powerful. This bloodthirsty spectator, urinating skyward, shouted loudly. He had traveled from afar, unaffected by Mo-Sect's dominance, so his view was rather objective. Whoever is strong, he praises them. With one slash, he broke through the Mo-Sect's Black Tower's 6th floor. Even the terrifying large crossbows were mostly destroyed. The Murong brothers felt their wings delivering power from behind, and they shouted, "True love is invincible." At this moment, Duan Yun had pulled out a table and chairs from behind Big White, and joined Feng Linger and the others, sitting down, cracking open some sunflower seeds, and drinking tea. Their plan remained the same, first having the Murong brothers stand strong, and then Duan Yun and his companion would take the lead with wings and mounts. Feng Linger couldn't help but comment on the posture of the Murong brothers. He really played that one well. The 6th floor of the Mo sect suffered heavy damages, yet the execution of the Mo sect is always terrifying. Even though most of the crossbows were destroyed, Bowman quickly stepped up, continuing to operate the remaining large crossbows to launch counterattacks. Seeing this, the Murong brothers said, "Rebelling against the heavens, you're still not convinced. Wings, give it to me." He continued to shout loudly, and Ning Qing couldn't help but increase the force. The increase in force immediately caused the Murong brothers some pain. Even though it was a mistake, the Murong brothers couldn't help but feel the physical pain. Physical pain connected with heartache, and suddenly he transformed from invincible pure love into agony. This hatred endless knife. Due to Ning Qing's forceful output, the Murong brothers' chi blood flowed to the extreme, along with physical and heart pain. It also triggered a frenzy of distress. At a glance, his mouth opened wide, his tongue flailing, spewing saliva, looking menacingly fierce. With a formidable expression, he slashed out a terribly threatening strike. The light of the blood shadow mad blade surged, seemingly forming a bloody ghost face. This time, from the red blade emerged a green sword light. The sword light was both fast and vicious, like a green arrow, instantly slashing into the Mo sect's Black Tower's 6th floor again. The people within the tower had long noticed something unusual and shouted, "Move quickly! Get down!" These were all elite members of the Mo sect, reacting quickly. As the green sword light slashed in, they were all already lying on the ground. With a thud, the green sword light struck the pitch-black stone wall, creating ripple-like waves like a lake. The ripples bounced against the stone wall, ricocheting in all directions. Sword chi followed the ripples downward, instantly slicing into the Mo sect disciples lying on the ground, causing screams all around. One Mo sect disciple's body was reduced to just half, and his face visibly turned green as if he had been poisoned. Yet he, with only half his body, was agile, crawling with his hands as quickly as flying. He quickly climbed to the front of a surviving Mo sect disciple. Seeing a familiar half-body crawling over, the disciple was shocked and exclaimed, "Third brother, what's happening to you?" In the next moment, the third brother, hands covered in blood, grabbed his ankle and spit blood, saying, "I'm dying. You must help me." "Third brother, I promise you anything," the disciple said, frightened and grieving. They were not just fellow disciples, but also brothers who entered the sect at the same time. "Third brother loves your sister-in-law very much. You must live and sleep with her," the third brother said with a face of deadly green. "Ah!" The Mo sect disciple was dumbfounded. "You must promise me. Sleep with your sister-in-law. Otherwise, I won't rest in peace. Even as a ghost, I won't let you go," the third brother screamed. The Mo sect disciple cried and wailed, "Third brother, I promise you, promise to sleep well with sister-in-law." But his fleeting look of difficulty was caught by the third brother, who couldn't help but roar, "Are you planning to backtrack and trick me after I die? Brother, you should have no burden. Sister-in-law is easy to sleep with. The more vigorously you sleep, the happier I will be down there." Seeing the other still hesitated, the dying third brother screamed, "Why? Why?" The Mo sect disciple finally couldn't hold back and said, "Sister-in-law is a bit unattractive. I only like beautiful ones." You. The third brother couldn't catch his breath and died instantly. After his death, the green hue on his face did not fade, resembling a real ghost crawling out from the ground. The green blade old demon's demon blade. How terrifying. This was just a snapshot inside the Black Tower. At this moment, only a few survivors were left on the 6th floor. Even the mechanism's donkeys were affected. An alive one, face green with terror, tried to ride a donkey to find a cow, but it directly fell from the 6th floor and died. One of them had exceptionally strong life force. It had its buttocks slashed off by the green blade, and because it wanted to go to the green bull, it fell from the 6th floor, its bones shattered, covered in blood. Yet, it still managed to crawl to the barn, stiffly moved twice under the shed towards a cow. Only then did it die with eyes turning green. Is this the green blade old demon's demon blade? The kind of blade that can make a city's people swap wives? Even the donkeys weren't spared. Terrifying. Really terrifying. So powerful. Green blade old demon. Green blade old demon. We love you. Green blade old demon. Green blade old demon. Mighty fine rear. The Morong brothers only wielded crucially 2 strikes. Yet at the Mo sect stronghold, they gained many followers staring intently at his big rear. Why were there no fangirls? Young hero Morong is not old demon Duan. Doesn't easily attract women. The warning blow prepared by the Mo sect was shattered by the green blade old demon, making the onlookers who had been supporting the Mo sect anxious to urinate. Even at this moment, old demon Duan had not yet made a move. Is it true that just a few people can challenge the Mo sect's Black Tower? At the top of the Black Tower, Li Mafei remained indifferent. He took a sip of tea and said, "Old third, it's your turn." The third elder Gu Tian couldn't help but say, "Li, when will you make a move? Can't you see? Behind him is old demon Duan. I will help you beat Green Blade, then beat old demon Duan. That's the only way." Good, good, good. After saying this, the third elder Gu Tian shouted "good" 3 times. The sound echoed like thunder within the Black Tower and traveled outside. More terrifyingly, as his 3 good words fell, Elder Gu Tian's face had a bullhead mask, and his hand held many metal tubes. Inside these tubes, colorful liquids flowed. Apply the medicine. With a click, more than 10 metal tubes penetrated Elder Gu Tian's body at once. The liquids entered him, and you could see there were actually many similar small holes around his body. That was proof of applying the medicine. As the colorful liquid entered his body, there was a boom, and Elder Gu Tian suddenly stood up. His body grew 2 feet taller, muscles bulging, tearing through his clothes. "Minotaur, hear the command. Green Blade old demon, I am coming to meet you." With a boom, the Black Tower gate opened, and out came the towering figure of Elder Gu Tian. He held a large golden hammer. His whole body's skin was golden, bronze-like, and behind him 18 similar minotaurs with hammers stepped out. Yes, real minotaurs. If Elder Gu Tian seemed like a minotaur with a golden bullhead mask, then behind him were genuine minotaurs. These figures had the body of stocky men, but their heads were bulls' heads. These bull heads had black fur, at a glance, carrying some human demeanor. But if you take a closer look, you'll find they indeed bear the traits of a bull. The Mo sect ventured endlessly in research, creating bull donkeys, granting them the strength of bulls and the toughness of donkeys. Their research went even further. They repeatedly crossed humans with bulls, integrating the bull brain into the human brain, or fitting the human brain into a bullhead, spending countless years finally producing the Minotaur. 18 Minotaurs were the product of transcendent expenditures, preceded by mountains of bull and human remains. Even if money worked wonders, it only yielded these 18 Minotaurs, for it defies heaven's principles. But here in the the Mo sect is the heavenly order. So this time, Elder Gu, leading the Minotaur army, comes to act for heaven. Green blade old demon, eat hammer. Then he suddenly remembered and calmed down. Ning Qing couldn't help but complain. Give what? I'm tired. The Murong brothers, hearing him, felt the performance was almost done. Couldn't help but say,